back with another Unpacked presented to you by the To Be Fair Show and
the G Shit Podcast.
Oh, my bad, fellas. Let's make sure we start off the episode. Y'all see them cash apps inside everybody's bio. Make sure y'all show love to the panel. But again, we're back for another week of Unpacked, and we got a good one. We got an interesting one. We're going to kind of just move off the path of the Pan-African / FBA conversation a little bit. It might get roped into this conversation, I'm sure. But we're going to talk about Black movements and what successful Black movements look like in America, in Black America, and what successful ones have we seen, what one would look like moving forward. But before we get into that, of course, we have an amazing panel that I love to introduce. Top, we have G. Talk to him, brother.
What's good, everybody? It's G, host of the G Shit Podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and fuck everything else. Check that out wherever you get your podcast. Just search GSHPOD. Hi.
All right. Look like David Walker. He had to take a quick piss break, but he's back. He's back. All right. FBA Trey, aka David Walker, aka Cassius Trey. Is the Cash App spelled correctly this time?
The Cash App is indeed spelled correctly this time.
All right, talk to him, brother.
What's good? What's up to the panel? Big FBA salutes to everyone out there. Shout outs to the regulars. Looking forward to interacting with y'all in the chat.
Yep. All right. Below him, we have the Charlotte legend, the HBCU legend, man of many hats, A Black. Talk to us, brother.
What's up, everybody? Happy Hump Day, man. Welcome back to Unpacked. I'm A Black, and I'm excited to be here. Let's get it.
All right.
Look at Fat Boy being jealous. Right? So fat. You go see some food, eh?
All right. And last but not least, the host of the To Be Fair Show, Johnny J. Rock, Johnny P. Newton. I don't know. Somebody said that Benny Butcher made a song named after him. What's going on, brother?
What's going on? What up to the panel? What up to the chat? Glad to be back. Looking forward to another good discussion, and can't wait to tap in.
All right. Again, I try to be a man of my word as best as I can. I did tell one of our guys in the chat that we was going to start off with this one, and we was going to give some commentary. So I think the conversation is this mocking or not? This was sent into a couple different chats, and we had some spirited conversations. I'll push play on the meme. Y'all let us know, what do y'all think? All right, I think that we kind of get the gist of it. I'll toss it out to the panel. Again, it was framed in a reference of, and I think maybe the title says, Pan-Africans, I need y'all to explain Africans mocking our Holocaust. Panel, what do y'all think?
First, a shout out to Fat Boy for sending this clip.
It's funny that people who don't have no interest in Africa will send stuff like that, ask questions like that. But I mean, simple research will let you know. That's one of the most popular festivals in Ghana, the Cape Coast, and it's only that part of it. Think of like the New York Parade, like a float. That's only one part of a huge carnival where they do a reenactment of the slave trade. And it's not mocking. If you pay attention, nobody's laughing. They're wearing the white Trump mask as a representation of white supremacy, colonialism. But it's a reenactment that happens all the time. We do civil rights reenactment. Niggas do Dungeons and Dragons. Niggas do Tea Party reenactments. It's all type of reenactments, and the whole point of it is to visualize a point in history so that people remember, like, this is what it was like. This is what it looked like, because that visual medium is powerful. It's one thing to read stuff. It's one thing to hear about stuff. But when you see things, it has more of an effect, more of a reminder of, like, this is what somebody did to us. So especially with the youth component, we're getting further and further away from slavery, so they don't see the severity of it, so these reenactments are kind of to remind them, because if you don't see shit like that, it can happen again. And it is happening in certain parts of Africa and in the Sudan, where the slave trade is still going on by the Arabs. So people who are anti-African got this anti-Africanism, they find things out of context, like, explain this and what is this. But nobody's mocking slavery. Nobody's mocking the slave trade. Like, people have reenactments of all kinds of traumatic things, wars, tragedies, all the time, of all cultures. So to take a clip out of context, it's just nothing but more anti-Africa and self-hate. Like, anybody that you can Google that. It's a quick reenactment, but that's one of the most popular festivals. They do that all the time. And now all of a sudden, like, people see a clip of it and they take it out of context and they want to, like, kind of use it as another tool to divide people. Like, they're mocking slavery. Like, why would they're the ones that got enslaved. Like, why would they mock themselves? Like, why they're not mocking us? Because we're not even us at the time. We started off African. So anything, they're showing their own history like anybody else, So to think somebody would mock that and think that was a joke, and you just see one smile in that video, it is nothing. If you go to the Elmina Castle in Ghana, if you go to the Gorée Island slave castle in Senegal, every now and then they do reenactments there as well. They're not consistent, but every now and then they'll have people that will dress up. If you see them with the orange clay on, that's representative of them. They had to walk for miles when they would go inland. Yeah, they use other Africans to go inland, and they would cover them with orange clay.
Just gloss over that.
I'm not glossing over it. It's a part of it, but we're not going to get into that right now. But they put the orange mud on them to protect them from the sun, because they're walking miles and it's not no cover and stuff. And it's protected because they're a product, So it's like you protecting your product. You rubbing the clay on them to keep them cool and to protect their skin. That's why it's orange. It's not they're dirty and stuff like that. But people just take shit out of context and look for anything to be anti-African, and it's crazy, because in one breath people say they're mocking our ancestors, and another breath they say they not us. So which one is it? They're either your ancestors or they're not you.
They're ancestors. I don't like this whole narrative where if Black people have an opinion about something, like in our own perspective, and it doesn't have to do with centering Africa or giving Africa a pass, it's automatically called self-hate. I think that's a very tired, and very lazy narrative, just to downplay a lot of serious concerns. I don't think you could have a bunch of German SS officers reenacting that, never do anything for the people that they abuse, do a reenactment of those German people that aren't even the same people, and then put that out without the Jewish community being upset about that.
Bro, I'm literally part of the Jewish and Black Alliance. They do reenact
Jewish and Black
form.
The Jewish and, but I'm saying if Germans did that, Jewish people do their own.
The Germans not going to do it because the Germans don't have no reason to remind you of it. The people who are victims of it, they reenact it to remind you this is what happened to us. You need to see it visually. This is what happened to us.
Well, Black, this is the fundamental difference between your perspective and mine. I see the descendants of slave traders. I do not see the descendants of my ancestors, because you
look at all Africans as just the descendants of slave traders.
The ones that are there right now,
those all Africans that are there on the continent of Africa.
The slave traders the slave traders were a minute percentage to the actual slaves. Like you got.
I didn't say all. I didn't say all.
The majority, like so. What do you? So this is like the common people that's doing this reenaction.
Y'all stop me and then.
Oh my bad. Go ahead, Cook.
Everything I say. And then, like, you let A Black go on a long rant. Just
you right. Go ahead and cook, brother.
Go ahead, man.
All right. So basically, at some point, we're going to have to come to terms with the fact that these African tribes did not see us as fellow Africans. They saw us as Akatas, something different. We were not just one big tribe in Africa. They're a mixture of several other tribes. And the Black people that are over there, we were in a specific tribe. A lot of them fled from Europe.
This is why I gotta cut you off, because you be spewing misinformation. Like I gotta cut you off because you be wrong as hell. Like,
man, you got it. But
it is different tribes, but you also, it's been warring tribes in every culture, whether it's Europe and it's Africa. So they looked at people as prisoners of war. So they're not knowing that they're shipping you off to be dehumanized because their version.
They knew perfectly well what they were doing. A Black.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And it's documented evidence. It's documented evidence when they found out what was going on of rebellions, of people stopping it. It's documented evidence. Like, what are you talking about?
This documented evidence.
This word. Nobody says Akatas. Nobody says Akatas. Like. You just keep running with that shit like Akatas. Oh, this is one group of people. They gonna be Black Americans. Let's enslave them. Like, nigga, what are you talking about?
Trey.
Can I go now? Where?
Yeah.
So the Dahomey tribe in Africa was so embedded in the slave trade that the British Army had to go and stop them from participating in the slave trade because they wanted the Africans to stay there so they can colonize them. So they turned on their business partners. Like, there would have been no transatlantic slave trade without the complicity of the tribes that are there, particularly the Dahomey tribe, the Ashanti tribe, and this slave trade went on beyond the time when slavery was illegalized in America. So, like,
once they got to America, who was complicit then?
What do you mean, who was complicit then?
Once the slaves got to America, or the Caribbean, or Brazil, where the majority of them went to, who was complicit then? Because you want to focus on the Africans who were involved on the continent. But once they left on the boat and they got to the different locations, what Africans were complicit then? See, you trying to absolve white. You want to absolve white supremacy?
No. I'm not absolving them. You're trying to absolve the Africans. I'm saying they're both equally culpable.
No, they're not. And that's where I stop, because it's not equally culpable. It's not, because it's documented as evidence. People have written about this. Scholars have written about this. That everybody didn't know the extent of what they were sending people into. So you talk about, they're equal. They're equal to white supremacy. Right. They're equal to when they get sent to all these different port locations around the world. Like, no, they played their part, but they were a small percentage.
A Black, there would have been no transatlantic slave trade without the complicity of the Africans there, and without the white supremacists, which goes without saying.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but you saying it's equal. Like, their role is equal. It's not. They have a role, but it's not equal.
I can make an argument that the Africans' role was worse because they were doing that to people that looked like them working with the ops, and it never would have been possible.
Bro, slavery has been going on. Slavery has been going on since the beginning of human time. Like, there was an Arab slave trade.
You sound right.
The Irish were enslaved too, right? Like,
okay,
you acting like everybody's complicit in slavery, but what happened to us in America, or what happened to us in the Caribbean, nobody knew. That level of slavery had never happened. When you have slaves in Islam, they treat you as equal. You live in your house, you can get married, you can like, there's a sense of humanity to it. Like, they brought us here and you've been turned into animals, not even human and shit.
Hey, Black,
that level of slavery had never been seen before.
There was a whole dungeon on the African coast. They saw it with their own eyes, what was going on for centuries. And you mean to tell me that they had no idea? Get out of here, bro. You got to come to terms with the people are not our friends.
Do you have to go there and see how far the coast is from the inland and how much.
Well, Africans didn't know what was going on. The slave boats are right there. They saw the Europeans. They saw the mistreatment. But they just got tricked into selling us.
Some Africans did. Yes, some did get tricked. Some did get traded for whiskey and rum and gunpowder and all type of stupid shit. I'm not saying that's not true, but to say it's equal and to say that everybody knew, they did.
You're absolving them. You're absolving them.
I did absolve them once. I just said that. I'm just saying that it's not the same.
Yeah, bro. I think
so Drake, I guess let me ask you a question. Do you or are you saying that the majority of African countries were participating in the slave trade? Okay, I know you said the homie, and what was the other one you said?
Yeah, first off, they weren't countries at the time. They weren't countries until the white folks carved them up during. What's it called? The it was in Germany. What's the city in Germany?
So all right, so if we just use the word tribes, or like parishes, like whatever words we want to use that kind of describe it, people that occupied these specific spaces. Are you saying that the majority of them? I know you said that the homie tribe. Me looking through it, it seems like that was Benin, but then it's like, is it Southern Benin? They were like major players in it, but if you look at the map, like it's a very, very small section that's in between like Ghana and a couple other countries. What was the other? You said you named two of them, or are you saying that all like a majority of these countries that were connected were participants inside this?
Man,
like,
Ghana,
Nigeria.
Because the Berlin Conference is when they established like a white lady named Nigeria, and that's when all these countries became a thing. Before then, they were just a bunch of tribes in the area and different kingdoms and everything like that. So, but the ones that were in the West Coast were the ones that were involved in the slave trade, because Africa is a very vast continent. But the ones that are still, and a lot of them are still in power now, like the names are passed down. They still recognize.
So I'm asking, like, so you believe that like the majority of the countries that's on the West Coast.
Okay, yeah. On the West Coast, the ruling tribes,
like the coast that pretty much a good majority of Black people that trace their ancestry, that they say that they're from. You're saying that all of these, or the majority of these countries, all were selling each other to the. Like, I guess help me understand what you're saying, or was it specific tribes? I know that the homie tribe was like major inside this. It sounds like there was like a bunch of other countries that weren't, or if you want to use the word tribes. I'm trying to understand like what is the framing that you're going with.
All right, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but a lot of times our context of history is based on like colonial times when they were conquering the world like after the 1400s. But before then, if you go all the way back into like antiquity, there were Black tribes in Rome and Greece, or there were Hebrews, and a lot of them were exiled because they were being attacked. And also during there were Black noble families in Europe as well. Like during the Spanish Inquisition, they pushed some of them to Portugal, and then they were eventually exiled into Africa. And if you look at old maps of Africa, there are tribes that have Hebrew names, and then tribes that can trace their lineage to the Moorish background in Europe. And there are also tribes in Africa that have been in that same place for thousands of years. So the tribes were not like selling people, for the most part. They weren't selling people within their own tribes. They would go to war with, I guess, tribes that they would consider not invading, but like newcomers, and then they would attack them on behalf of like the Europeans they were working with. Like during the whole slave trade, like they weren't just rounding up random Africans. They were looking for
this is you make it like, correct me if I'm incorrect. This is the Blacks or the original Hebrew, like it's not what you're saying is based out of that theory, correct?
It's not, because that's part of it. But a lot of these theories kind of like have a.
So the answer would be yes, then, right?
It's not based, because I'm not based on that, because I'm also basing on the studying the Spanish Inquisition and the Moors.
So are you saying that Black people are the original Hebrews, and the Africans came up and took them, like the Israelites, and sold them in slavery? Is that not what you're saying right now?
I think that's a reduction. Like you reducing it too much by doing it. I don't want to like get pegged. I mean, posting in that one little pause. I don't want to get like painted in that corner. Pause.
What you explained, is there something different than is there anything I
said?
No,
because it goes back to, that's part of it, yes. But the whole Spanish Inquisition, even some of those Hebrews that had converted to different religions, but they drove all of the Moors out of the like southern.
So generally speaking, you don't think that we are from the west coast of Africa? Those are just like their own different people that have nothing to do with Black Americans.
See, this is the concept and why I don't rock with Pan-Africanism as much as I rock with global blackness, because at one point the entire globe was black. There were black civilizations everywhere. So when you call, like, say we came from Africa, that limits our like global presence to one specific spot. Where I'm saying at the time there were people of our lineage in America, there was some in Europe, there was some that fled into Africa, but we didn't all come. Like,
speaking about like,
let me ask a clarifying question. So like, are you but like, with that said, say the whole world was black, like, did these people originate from somewhere specific and then arrive at these places, or do you think that Black people was sprouting up like across all continents versus like migrating from a central source?
There's multiple theories there. I'm not sure which one. Like, people talk about Pangea and people talk about multiple. Like,
I think he's asking like within your belief system, or do you have a solid thing within your belief system that you're painting?
The only thing I have solid is I reject the whole out of Africa / evolution. Like, we came from monkeys in Africa. I reject that theory, but
okay.
I'm not sure if like it was.
Those are two separate theories. The theory of evolution
and out of
no, like the theory of evolution of like evolving from monkeys is one thing, but then the theory of like people starting in Africa is something different.
I think there's a connection there somewhere, but I get
they gotta be tied together.
But like, I get how
Who you think built the Great Wall of China?
I think it's interesting that the walls, they're saying that they're facing the way they shouldn't be facing. If it is indeed
slaves is the answer. The point is, like, slaves ain't nothing new. Slaves been here. But when you are saying or trying to focus on the point of Africans being complicit, that's like one of the biggest pieces of propaganda. You yourself are mentioning all the tribes, and all the wars that were going on. So they are doing what they're getting prisoners of war. And so they're getting these Portuguese is coming in, these Dutch, these white people, and they're seeing these guns. And these chiefs and these kings are realizing, like, all right, I need this, or they go wipe us out. So it became about self-preservation. We are not a monolithic. So they're not looking at you as like Akata or Black people are slaves. They're looking at that as Igbo, as Yoruba, as different tribes, the Ashanti, different people that we've been fighting or whatever. And it's like, I'm going to make this relationship. I'm going to get my guns and protect my people. Are these white people going to wipe us out too? And yeah, you want me to go get my enemy on the inland, and you go do, okay, bet. They're not telling them the full extent of what's going to happen to them. It's just war to them.
So that sounds very foolish.
It's not right, but you got to think of the context of the time. And if you are a chief and you sitting with this white man, he opened up a whole box of 20 rifles, and you already seen a rifle take down your biggest warrior with one shot, you're thinking self-preservation. I need to unite with this person, get as much as I can, and I can go get my enemies for him or whatever. I'm not knowing that he's about to come over here, castrate him, take away his name, language, and do all the shit that they do, because they didn't do that over there. You can get yourself out of slavery. You can work yourself out of slavery.
Well, this is like
Trey, do you think that American slavery was its own specific unique thing?
American slavery under white supremacists was definitely
right. That and like one could possibly say like the Caribbean version of slavery as well. Like they're different, but like it's under the guise of how white people do or did slavery inside like a very different, inhumane way. In comparison to what I think a lot of the world did would be like prisoners of war, indentured servitude. Do you agree or disagree with that?
American slavery was more brutal.
I definitely agree that American slavery was more brutal, especially like how the children were slaves. They were treated like animals versus like people that were in bondage. Yeah, it was a different.
Right. Would you say that across the world during that time, exchanging prisoners of war and indentured servitude was something that was done globally?
I don't recall white people selling other white people to Africans.
And no, I'm just saying, like, was this something done globally? I don't know if they did.
I'm talking about like. No,
I'm just using the word globally.
We're talking about them selling us
first.
But we're talking about them.
We can't hear you at all.
So let me ask a question. When we talk about whites doing business with Africans, does North Africans count? Like, because the Romans definitely did business in the slave trade with North African dynasties at a time. Like, I think it's kind of well documented. Like shit, like Gladiator, for example.
Yeah, but even with gladiators, you can. I mean, it's rare, but you can fight your way to freedom. But the whole thing is like the only thing that they would impose back then was religion. You gonna accept Islam or you gonna accept Christianity? But they wasn't completely wiping your humanity away. They wasn't taking your language away. Like they wasn't cutting your tongue out for reading and shit like that. Like it was levels of it. But it's been going on, and there's been slavery. But taking people on boats miles away, transatlantic, that was some new shit to a whole new world. And literally wiping their culture completely away. That was some new shit.
I guess I was building it. I was pretty much building to say somewhat would a middle ground be that like there were Africans that sold other Africans into slavery, but at the same time, the idea of slavery isn't what we look at it as today.
I think that they sold our specific bloodline to the white man. And I think that the white man never sold white men to them.
Our bloodline is not.
All right, so you didn't address like the state, the middle ground part to it. So do you agree or disagree with that part that I just said?
No,
that globally, like American slavery and Caribbean slavery wasn't a thing that existed in Africa. It was a different, brutal version of slavery in comparison to what was happening across the globe.
Q, I understand chattel slavery in America was different than the slavery that's gone on globally.
Again, I'm just trying to find the middle ground. Is the middle ground that do you believe that they understood that they were selling their countrymen or different tribesmen into that version of slavery, or just what happened across the diaspora, across the globe in general, which was more of an indentured servitude prisoner of war version?
Can I ask?
Well, let him answer, and then we'll go straight to you.
Man, but that's a tough question because it's like the foundation of the question you're asking is already flawed because they weren't selling their countrymen; they were selling our tribe, which was different than theirs. We're not the same bloodline.
Were we all from the same tribe?
No.
So different tribe. Hey, can I? I want to ask you a question, Trey. Maybe this might help bring it a little center because, like, the whole idea of America and the West was something that was new.
That's not true. Go ahead.
As far as like to Africans and the Europe, America and the slave trade over here was relatively new. They were trying to find, they were trying to build, they were still fighting to make whatever we got over here. Do you think, like, you don't think there's any ignorance on the side of the Africans as far as like what was going to happen because it was such a new? It's not like where we know what they're going to do. We know the patterns. There wasn't really as many patterns as far as when it comes to the West or like America, the Caribbeans, because all of these countries over here were either just getting founded or were relatively new. So you don't think that had any sway in there, or you don't think that would give them any kind of like forgiveness or
grace
or any grace in that situation based on how new the West was back then?
Well, first off, if I give grace to them, then I got to give grace to the white supremacists too, because they both were part of the slave trade. So anyone that had anything to do,
no, because one was an ignorant party and the other. I'm trying to separate them. Like one knew,
but one was dealing with us as people that weren't of their own. The black. If you're gonna sell us to a white person, I think that's worse.
They didn't see us as our own. They were different tribes, and they were
that's even more.
That doesn't give.
I think as far as I think that's
you don't even see all FBAs as your own here.
That's not true.
Let me ask this. Like,
I don't even know what you mean by that, G.
Meaning, like you will throw a nigga that's non-code FBA, you'll throw him right under the bus. Like you're
off code, then yeah.
Okay, so maybe these niggas
over
there was like these off-code
Africans.
niggas. Maybe they thought they was off-code niggas or something. That's what I'm saying. My point is that you're acting like niggas won't do shit to their own, which is just false. And what I'm saying, even within the FBA community, there's a clear example of folks talking to their own FBA people saying, nah, nigga, fuck what you talking about. You off code, you getting left behind, you not with the group and everything.
Hold up, G. You're really comparing me calling out someone being off code with someone selling a baby, a newborn child, a bunch of lives by the hundreds and thousands to white people?
You sell them off code niggas. You get rid of them off code niggas, Trey.
Nah, I think I would rather see them unalive than help the enemy by giving them to them.
And you were saying that they were selling batches of hundreds of babies.
Nobody was selling no babies. But what babies gonna make it 3 months on the boat? Nigga, like they sell babies when they get here. They might get a pregnant woman. They're looking for the strongest men and the strongest women because 1/3 of them not even gonna survive the journey. Like, why the fuck I'm gonna buy a baby to put on the boat? If they didn't
sell the babies, then they sold the baby's parents and left them abandoned by the hundreds and thousands.
They sold the parents, yeah, but
it seems like it's just weird to hear y'all like the justification.
It's not justification. It's putting stuff into context. Like you're trying to give a reason on one tribe. But if you read, you would know that they used the chiefs in the beginning. Once they found their routes inland, they started taking their ass and their people too. You think if you see some niggas and you look at you a slave trader, you're gonna ask them, hey, you're Ashanti? Oh yeah, you help us with the slave trade. I'm not gonna take you. No, you coming too, nigga. Shaka Zulu, one of the most powerful people in South Africa, was a king. He got caught in the slave trade. He got caught on the boat. They escaped, rebelled on the boat, came back. He's like, oh nah, they on some nether shit. But he was helping with the slave trade too until he found out how serious the shit was. And he came back and started fighting them niggas off until they came back with guns.
Okay, so, I can tell you a story about the son of a slave. I can tell the story about, it's like the story of Kojo or something like that. And he was talking about his tribe getting invaded and seeing his family heads on pikes outside, like when he was leaving and getting marched away, where they created wars just to enslave people, and they treated our people, like the part of our people that came from Africa, they treated them savagely. Like it wasn't just we sold some people that we weren't mistreating over here. It was very brutal the way they did it. They even marched us around something they call the tree of forgetfulness, so we would hopefully forget like some little weird old African voodoo stuff for us to forget what they did to us. And it didn't work. And again, they had to bring the British Army in to make the Dahomey tribe stop the slave trade because their economy was so attached to the slave trade that the merchants would have rebelled, because that's how deep they were into it. They were still selling slaves to Brazil after the Europeans had outlawed the British slave trade. So this whole thing where you give Africans a pass as if they weren't complicit and should be held accountable. As a matter of fact, I think what they're dealing with now is, I don't feel bad for them. I think it's karma. And I think their reparations claim is ridiculous. Like, how do you sell people into slavery and then want reparations for the slavery that never would have happened if you didn't allow it to happen to begin with?
So Trey, why don't you have more, I guess, like affinity for like Caribbeans and South Americans who are of, the descendants of the slave trade? It seems like based off what you're saying here, we should all kind of be on the same page
with the Caribbeans.
Any of the folks who
I guess they would be the same tribe.
Yeah, the Caribbeans, the Brazilians, the Central Americans.
Yeah,
anybody on this side of the world, anybody that's of the black, like you just said, like all that shit was going on repeatedly, like the
transatlantic slaves.
Like we on the same team, not like that. That's what it sounded like to me.
Gee, that would be so sweet, bro. But unfortunately, that's just not what it is. I think like during the Haitian Revolution, that was a time where you saw, we were having slave revolts all over here. They were having all over there. But then, I don't know, something changed to where it became more like tribalistic, where we were seen as, this whole like reaching out to help each other, that became like more one-sided, at least from a lot of folks' perspective over here. So the argument now is, even if we wanted to help them, we would be better able to help them if we first concentrate on helping ourselves, so we can be empowered. And the same thing for them. If they're going to be good allies, they need to help themselves too. And hopefully we can meet each other at the top.
All right. So I guess helping ourselves. This is probably a good segue point. I feel like if we wanted to, we could probably run this conversation for the whole time. But these are just the opening icebreakers. Help ourselves. To me, that kind of reminds me. It sounds like it rhymes with American politics in Black America. In the sticky situation that we're in right now. I like to play another meme, and I love to get y'all commentary on Black people helping themselves. All right, cool. So I guess I'll lead off with this question. Why can't the Dems read the room?
AOC the only one with a hint of sauce. Like, the only one with a hint of it. Like, it's terrible.
What's funny is, bro, they want to fearmonger every day. They want to act like the world is burning. Trump is this, he's that. Everything is wrong. But they got time to be playing games and making memes and doing trends. Like, it look like y'all life is good to me. Like, all them worth over $1 million, like, and they out here doing it. And that trend old as hell anyway. But it's just like they just be out of touch, man, and like not reading the room. Like, y'all got time to play. I thought shit was crumbling around us, but y'all got time to play. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Like,
what was crumbling was that Asian lady. She was struggling to stay on balance when she was rocking on that motherfucker. I thought she was gonna fall over.
Got one job.
Them knees. But I'll tell you why they can't read the room is because like they not in the same room as us. They live in a totally different life. They especially the ones that we have voted in or that have gotten voted in and that are supposed to represent us. They don't really represent us or our interests. And I think it's a clear divide, especially like I know we disagree on here a lot amongst ourselves, but like when it comes to like that side and what we actually want, there's a clear divide. And that's the reason they can't read the room, because they, it's not for us, and they not even in the same room as us on 90% of the issues. Like, it's totally different. So that's what I think that's the whole reason they not for us. They not like us.
Yeah, they straight up like spiraling, bro. Like somebody said, I was listening to Black Alpha Network, and it's like the Democrats they don't even know how to respect us. And then for us finally waking up to that, they lost their plantation political property, and without us, this is what you had. So I'm wondering, like, who's next? Like, because I think Trump is definitely slow boiling this thing, where we don't know who is gonna get. Like, he's using people to go against other people, but that the people that he's using, their time's gonna come at some point. So it's like he's strategic, like he's going after Stacey Abrams. I think eventually he's going to go after some of the Republicans too on that side, because I don't think he forgot about the election last time where he thinks that might have been finesse. But he's not going to lead with that because he knows he'll get the people against him. So, man.
Bruh. She got a little tongue out. She thinks she cute. She thinks she's doing something, man. She looks ridiculous. Oh my gosh, this shit is ridiculous. Like, she actually got her little tongue out and shit, bobbing her little head, thinking that this shit is cute, bro. This shit looks terrible.
My favorite thing is like, look at Shorty in the brown. She don't know what the hell.
Man, look at that, man. Oh my
God, she do the dirty bird, ain't she?
Shorty from the brown don't even know where this comes from. She don't even know what she's doing.
She's doing the ratchet tongue, bro. That's what they do drunk in the club.
Yeah,
bro.
They're doing a dirty bird on there.
That's crazy.
Yo, why, man? Boy, look at them interns. They like, man, whatever you say, boss. Hey,
but why she pick
18 an hour
black women with no rhythm? Them motherfuckers don't know what they doing.
18 an hour boss.
And according to Trey, she's just living her best private school life. That's it.
Oh yeah, Umar wouldn't approve of they dating life.
But Umar don't say nothing about that though, or he don't really hold them accountable.
I think he's kind of a Stark. If it ain't black, it's shit whack type of nigga.
I'm saying like he leans in on the brothers with that.
Yeah, my thing. Look how happy Jasmine look in that video, man. Like they look like everything all good. If you you can't find one picture of Harriet Tubman smiling because wasn't shit funny back then.
This nigga stupid.
He's having a good time.
Yeah, damn, yeah.
And they mad. They mad. Their money.
Niggas can't smile. Hey, black. No smiling. Like every picture is solid. Like
smile with the camera off if you want me to take you serious. Don't try to make me feel like this man is destroying democracy and burning down the world and y'all niggas dancing. Like nah, ain't shit funny.
No, she said you can't fake influence.
Yeah. That is what she said, actually, on there. And told Trump stop being Putin hoe, maybe. I think that was the other thing she said. But saying all that to kind of move on to another one. Of course, we like to look at both sides of the aisle on here. So I'll ask y'all this question. Trump, he hopped on X. He said, "Hey, I need a Tesla." Of course, Doge's own Mr. I donated 100 million to the campaign, and then another 100 million afterward. He pulled up to the White House lawn and sold him in front of all the cameras a brand new Tesla. This is also while Tesla stock is plummeting, and some people are calling it, pretty much a inside handshake of I promote for you. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Is this something, nothing? I don't know. Is this something that he should be worried about? Again, his biggest donor. He is now helping promote his business interest that is right now currently plummeting. Crypto, if anybody that's invested in the market, you kind of know shit ain't the best right now. On whichever version of a market that you invest in. Again, does this give compromise vibes? Is this something that if a Democrat did, we'll be like hypercritical of? What is y'all thoughts? I mean, this gives like some what's his name, Soros vibes or nah? I don't know. I'm throwing it out there.
I think more Bill Gates vibes because it's like scientists, like evil scientists. I don't know who's more evil. Okay. Like one of them is trying to change the environment. The other one, like Elon Musk has this Cyberlink thing, and it says it has state memory where if you plug it into a certain brain, it'll pick up exactly like where you are right now. You know, in the video game, how you can save state. Like he's working on stuff like that, and you know what I mean. I don't know. That sounds kind of like evil to me.
Okay. Black Mirror. They said season 7 or 8 is about to drop next week.
Yeah, but to me, this just it just reminds me of, like, the capitalism in this country, and it reminds me of like the minerals deal that Trump is trying to get done with Ukraine, and how like American taxes, we all pay the taxes, and when the aid goes, it comes from all our tax dollars. But then when it comes to getting repaid, those mineral deals are going to go to corporate interests. There's going
to go to Elon Musk. Like he's probably one of the biggest benefactors of that mineral deal.
Yeah, because of Tesla. But you have to have companies to set up, and it's going to be capitalists that are set up to get all that money. And good luck with the trickle down economics, and good luck to that coming to actually affecting the average American. Even though we all pay taxes that went over there. When it's time to get the money back, there's only a few that reap the benefits, and it's never good, or the benefits never match the input never matches the output when it comes to what we get back as American people. And that's one of my issues. And this just reminds me of how Trump is working the system, and he don't even care. He'll do it right in front of our face and kind of let you know how he's doing it. And yeah, you got to be a little slicker than that, to me, honestly. Even if you got to be a little slicker than that.
Shout out TBI by the dip. Right now, I am not putting no more. I tell you what, I'm not putting no more money in. I ain't putting no more money in Ethereum. That motherfucker don't. Oh damn, my bad. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, Ethereum struggling.
Yeah,
but,
that's the most annoying.
I should have cashed that when I had the chance.
But
about 3 months ago was a good cash out time. That motherfucker just god damn. But my bad. Go ahead, G.
I'm gonna say, like, the thing about the Tesla stock is the dip is not unique to Tesla. Like everything is really headed south. You know, even Nvidia went from all-time records to going dipping below. So I would
before you get into your theories, are we buying the dip or like just chill for a little bit?
Now you definitely want to buy the dip, but me personally, I don't know if I don't like to buy the downfall. I like to buy the real dip. So I rather like observe to see, like, is this really the lowest low, or has the bottom really fallen out yet? Because I don't necessarily think that it has. But that's the thing I was saying about, like, even if you purchased Tesla a year ago today, you be up 40% with the current dip. So I think, like, that's the thing about the market, generally speaking, with these companies. He went on a bull run once Trump got elected, and once he got, so all his stock went like crazy hyperinflated. But even beyond Tesla, companies like Nvidia were hyperinflated in the market, and it's just it's just correction time. You know what I'm saying? Like all that response to COVID, everything was running up. Like, markets are gonna correct. So at the end of the day,
COVID correction already happened.
Niggas need to tighten up. Like, this is the bottom line. You need to tighten up. Shit's about to get mad expensive. Shit, like, it's about to get, like, everything's gonna be way more expensive. And if you got extra cash,
put it aside. So let me ask you this: are you for or against the tariffs? And I guess this would be the other side of it, because right now the market's almost reacting to the continual pump fake of tariffs, not even necessarily the implementation of tariffs.
The uncertainty.
He kind of keeps saying, all right, Canada, Mexico, tariffs, 50%, 20%. They're like, nah, I'm gonna give y'all about another 2 months. But it's happened like 4 times already. What are you for?
China too.
The equal tariffs, or my bad, it's reciprocal tariffs. Are you for reciprocal tariffs? Are you for tariffs in the sense that what he's saying is more like leverage threatening tariffs? And how will tariffs impact the market for us as regular citizens when it comes down to the price of eggs?
Well, I'm not for tariffs being used as a war tactic. I think if you're going to use tariffs, they have to be done very deliberately and strategically. If not, it just only like.
So are you for at baseline reciprocal tariffs?
I'm not necessarily. I'd have to do a lot more studying to say if this is a good case for it. Off top, I'd say no, because but like with tariffs, if they're not done correctly, it always affects the American people and our economy.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get affected regardless.
And so, like, I can't just say I'm just go tariff from the death, because that shouldn't be a way to wage war against another country. There should be diplomatic means, and definitely not means that affect us and our pockets on the daily.
I'm gonna throw the G, but I will say China said that they're for a tariff war.
No,
they ran down 3 of them. They said
any kind of war.
If y'all niggas really want to go,
they
to war,
said any kind of war that we want. I mean, they gave examples, but that's my thing. Like, as Americans, like Trump ain't reading the room. We ain't prepared to go to a tariff war as American people. Like, I don't want to pay $2,000 for refrigerators and like there's certain things that like are going to go up that like we're not in a position to be able to handle that and take that as a society. And
gotcha.
But at the same time, there is unfair, like, because he was saying that one of the things he's going to do is match the tariffs that they have on us.
Yeah, that's the reciprocal tariffs.
That's fair, right? Or you against that too, if it means that like they'll punish us for
manning.
I mean, if it's going to make shit cost more, like probably not.
So like, that don't seem predatory for them to charge us and us not charge them.
We could go other places and look at other markets. There's other ways to go around it other than just returning tariffs that are just going to make our prices go even higher. There are other options out there than just reciprocal tariffs.
And I guess like the tariff thing is like it's not really simple at all, because of also a lot of countries just go the long way around tariffs then. So they'll just send their export to a country that has lower tariffs, and then that country will send it to America. And you'll see that happen as well. But the thing about tariffs, so I'm not necessarily opposed to reciprocal tariffs. I understand like the concept of what he's trying to get at. But like it's almost kind of like you're doing an EQ if you ever mix music, where and he's kind of talked about it a little bit inside like a very like he hasn't went in depth, but if you listen to kind of like economists speak a little bit, where like taxes and tariffs almost move like an EQ, where if you're going to over tariff, that means the price of goods is going to go up, in which eventually you have to find a way to give the people money to actually compensate that. Obviously, inflation is going to go up by that, but this is where you get into him saying like, well, we're going to do tariffs, but no income tax. And it's kind of like this game of trying to find out what the median balance of where it can make sense for the American people. It can make sense for us when it comes down to like, you know, tariffs and making sure that we're getting reciprocal leverage when it comes down to import exports in general.
I get what you're saying. I definitely think there's like an EQ aspect so much. And it's almost like if you get into like the BIOS of a computer, or you like jailbreak something, where if you mess it up, you can make it like turn it, like brick it. You know what I mean? So I do think you have to be very calculated, very surgical. But at the same time, I think there needs to be something done, because any situation where we are being taken advantage of, like if they're stealing our intellectual property, you know, they're not having labor laws, or they're able to export cheap labor in a way that we're not able to due to humanitarian stuff like that. And, you know what I mean? I think if we're to compete with people that have their situation set up that way, that's not going to work. So we have to find some other way other than just like having like the Wild Wild West out there where we just got to pay with it, whatever they charge us.
And G, I'm going straight to you. I do want to get you and A Black's opinion on if Trump and his relationship with the richest man in the world, is it cause for concern? Is it nothing? Are we overreacting? Is it the left running what is it, Trump derangement syndrome in general?
I'll answer that question, but the short answer is I don't know how. There is no short answer, but when it comes to these tariffs, I think one or two things is gonna happen.
Okay.
Let's say things go the way, say, Trump in theory wants it to go. If in theory it goes this way, one of the, say, positives that could come out of this allegedly is that there will be more jobs here domestically, because companies won't want to import their products to the consumer market.
Back jobs to America.
Correct. In theory.
But say the other side to that theory.
That's what I'm saying. It can go one or two ways. One way would be things go as what Trump would want. You got this Taiwanese company committing a certain amount of money to build stuff here. Maybe you got some other American companies who have allegedly pledged to bring back facilities here. You know, maybe it does create record job growth and bring back a quote unquote working class in America and so forth. That's one argument. Is it likely? I don't think so.
What happens to the prices of goods?
Prices is going up, period. And so that goes to the other side of the conversation, is what is also likely to happen or happen on the other side is like, you know, inflation prior to this election was trending downward. Now it's not only stalled, it's starting to tick back up. And when you start talking about these tariffs and in the way that inflation is measured with baskets of consumer goods, these goods will have significant increases to where we could potentially see, you know, upwards of that 10% number that was a record couple years ago. So when you start talking, you know, crazy inflation, what does that mean? Okay, well, maybe Feds get more aggressive trying to drop the rate again potentially. But is that what they really do to help ease things? Like, I don't know, it could turn into a real, like, I don't want to say hyperinflation, But you know how Reagan, what the 80s was like with Reagan, I think it could mirror something similar to that effect, where like you see a lot of struggling, crippled, like dilapidated buildings, like all type of shit. DC gonna look like old DC soon.
Yeah, well, the tough part is that like Trump, Elon, like everybody that's spoken out from them, they have made the statement that it's going to get ugly before it gets good.
No question.
And Trump hasn't, like I think, what was it? This past week, he said, I don't rule out a recession. So like they understand that for it to get pretty, it's going to get really ugly. And unfortunately, like the working class person is the one that gets impacted first in that. I think their whole thing is that if we can get it upturning by primaries, within the next 2 years, like we can still hold all the seats that we have. A Black, talk to us. Is Trump, Elon, is their relationship, is him and the richest man in the world? Is their relationship something? I don't know. Talk to us.
Yeah, it's definitely something. The thing is, I can't really decipher who's using who yet, because they both are. I mean, it'd probably be a mutual thing, you know.
I guess that's a great way to put it, because
they
it seems like Elon is, but there could be a Trump play in here.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't, 48 laws of power say never outshine the master. So in this sense, Trump is the master. Elon's the richest man in the world, but he's not bulletproof. So it's like if he get out of line, you know what they gonna do to him. So I feel like it's a mutual usefulness right now, where they are kind of using each other. You got one who has control of government and one who has the most money, and he is in the science realm and the tech realm, and it's like we're going to use each other for our interests. But I feel like when Trump wants to get done with him, he can be. If Elon gets his claws too deep into our government, into our systems, they'll unalive him, like they've done throughout history with anybody. So I think they both just using each other. And it's like just a mutual benefit. As far as like the tariffs and all that, I'm not the most educated on that, so I won't speak too much on it. I do know prices have been going up. Every boardroom is sitting up in there. How can they make more money? And we live in the richest country of the world. So it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to make money to survive here. Like you're going to have to make a certain amount to live in the richest country of the world.
Well, we used to think that 100K was like, you all right.
I mean, and it can be depending on your lifestyle. Like you can live good on 100K a year.
Oh no, you can live good, but 100K today is way different.
Now it's definitely not the same.
As it was. No, it's regular. It's like regular middle. It's like
it's not the same. It's not
like we all know like somebody that probably make 100K now.
Yeah,
back in the day, it was like that was for rich folk. Man, it's like, damn, you almost kind of working class.
Yeah, we live in a consumer society though. So when people start making more money, they start accumulating more expenses. They don't. Most people don't know how to invest. Don't have financial education. They can make money. The whole thing is like, can you keep it? And how many ways can you make it? So you're gonna have to make money to survive, and I'll say to live good, because you can survive without making a lot of money, and you can just be the lower class or whatever and still eat. But if you want to like have a good life here, that is gonna be the minimum, like 100K. Now, what you do with your expenses, what kind of bills you accumulate and stuff, that's different with different people. Because I know people who make 60K living better than people who make 100K, just because the 100K person, they have to get that uptown apartment. They got to get this car. Now they have so many bills where their spending power balances out with the 60K person that's living frugal. So they are preaching consumerism in our country and kind of creating debt slaves. But as far as Elon and Trump, I feel like they playing chess. Like everything with the tariffs and stuff, it's like it's bully ball. It's like we're gonna do this. It's like we threatening you, but nothing's really bounced back heavily that hurts. But you do gotta somewhat destroy to rebuild. You do gotta kind of taint the market to build the market up. And
so I guess let me ask you this: when does it become the boy who cried wolf? Though? So like if you keep threatening, but then you be like, nah, I'm gonna push it back. Like so far they did it, I want to say 4 times with Mexico and Canada.
I think with the threats, you get an idea of market shifts, how and trends and how people will move. And then you kind of know like where to move your money, where to move shit and stuff. So I mean, as far as business goes, I feel like we in better hands with Trump and Elon than Joe Biden for sure. Because I mean, they've been like, proven businessmen. Trump has failed and he succeeded. But because of that, I feel like they know what they're doing with the money. Now, as far as how that's gonna trickle down to the average person yet, I don't know yet. But they about to get rich. I mean, they've been rich.
Well, I agree with that for sure. I think that if it's one thing for sure, they're gonna make sure that them pockets is lined for themselves.
Which is another thing, like with Elon, like how much does he want?
Well, I think that's the scary part. I don't know if he's any longer doing things for money, if that makes sense. And to me, like that's the play that that's the thing that to me you probably have to think about as you're seeing how he's kind of positioning a bunch of things. Yeah. To me, if I was one of those conspiracy theorists that get into like that whole global elite and all that shit, he would probably be like one of those guys, like when you get into the Bill Gates and all these things, where you see him in Russian newspapers aligning with like, far rights over there. You see him in England and he's pushing causes for I forget, it was like rapes with immigrants and some shit like that. You see him in America and you said what? Oh, I forgot about that. He had the whole little he made himself George Floyd, and what was it? Ron, I forget what the whole little shit was, but like they're like him and the Andrew Tates, they're all doing the whole free Officer Chauvin shit and all that thing.
Do you think that they see the right as just more impressionable and influenceable, and like that's kind of
sure, like it's an easy grift.
Like, it's a grift that
they go ahead.
I'll say they're not impressionable enough to buy Teslas if he was trying to sell that through Trump. Like that's not going to happen. And he's completely alienated his customer base. So I don't know how he's going to recover from that, or if that's even something he's considering. Because only liberals buy Tesla.
I guess I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Like that's a white liberal car for sure. Man.
I still drive a Tesla, especially knowing the history of it, and really kind of Elon stealing that from the main dude from a black man.
Even though they're using child labor from Africa to get all the resources to build those lithium batteries.
I mean, they doing it in the Congo with the cobalt and our laptops and cell phones right now. You gonna stop using your cell phone?
But look, though,
you care about child labor in Africa?
I mean, I care about suffering anyway.
Okay, right.
But you only talk about it over there, though. We got child labor.
I mean, I prioritize my people, like most people prioritize people.
Great answer.
Except MJ said Republican buy sneakers too. So
that's my favorite MJ quote.
At the end of the day, this nigga this nigga Elon, like, he might have had one loyal base. That's true, but he might be tapping into a new base.
Mega not buying Teslas.
I got a cousin that hate Elon.
Republicans buy Teslas too.
He said he ain't giving his Tesla. So like some people can disassociate,
That shit don't work on the dirt road, bro.
What dirt road niggas is on?
The MAGA, you know what I'm saying?
That's why he about to get him a little MAGA electric pickup truck and shit coming soon.
You talking about the Ford merger? I get it. That would make the most sense. But I guess, fellas, we've kind of hit all of the memes. We started off a little rocky. Sound like we got some middle ground on the last two, where critiquing the right and the left. I think that there's fair room on both sides of that. I lead that into us with our main conversation. So again, the conversation is what will it take for us to have a real movement? really the clickbaity, but really asking one, just going down the line of what is a movement, what has been productive movements, what have been destructive movements, and for Black America to progress, what movement do we need and how will we get it done? Saying all that to say, I asked this first. A lot of times we say we don't need leaders. I'll ask y'all, does a movement need leaders?
Hell
And then
no.
I have a follow-up question if anybody does feel yes or no.
Hell no. And I think anybody
Well, what successful movement hasn't?
I think
What successful movement hasn't had a leader?
What successful movement hasn't had a leader? I mean, that's a good question. But the only thing is we've tried the leader option multiple times, and what we found is that having a de facto leader, all it does is make an easier target. So we're trying to do something different this time, where we lead with more of an ideology and a more on code perspective that we share, and then
and when you say we, you're talking about
ideally the dream would be Black people globally, but we don't have as much power as we do with our own lineage here at home. So,
but I imagine you're talking about a specific movement. For our audience that's here that might not know what you're talking about.
Hey, I'll tell you a movement that's
you were just like hinting at like what we should do. It sounded as though, but okay, we'll circle back to you, Trey.
No, I could tell. I don't think you have to have a leader to have a successful movement, and I would go to examples of. You can look at like, might not be the best example or might be a controversial example, but you look at like not even Black Lives Matter. I'm gonna go global as far as like you look at some of like the Islamist movements and like some of the jihadists and how like those movements are things that
they do have leaders,
but their leaders
they have like an organized structure where there's a shot caller.
Let me finish. Let me go broad. But their leaders end up getting killed, and because of the ideology, there's always somebody next up that's able to take the place. And
but there is always a leader though. Inside like the structure that you said.
But there's always a leader. There's an ideology. There's an ideology that leads first and foremost, and the leaders just follow ideology or quote unquote code. And
the ideology is more important.
But the ideology is what's more important. That's how the movements are able.
But how do ISIS
But how come they've never stopped? It's been 20, 30 years.
Oh no, they've broken off and like they've broken off and formed warring like terrorist groups.
Man, we got that's how ISIS happened. Man, we got to mature, bro. Because I see this constant thing is like people.
Is that not how ISIS happened, Johnny?
Yeah, bro, we look globally like, are you my friend? Are you my leader? Like, bro, and
then it was just a new leader, and they had their own ideology. I think most times leaders bastardize, unfortunately, like ideologies, but like there's like a like the Bible, and then you have a cult leader or something like that. I forget.
Like I said, that's why. But that's why leaders can be mad. But if you look overall, like they have had success in like they've taken over countries. They have had rebellions. If you can look at the Arab Spring, where it was over multiple countries where the same ideology took place and was able to gain root in certain places and actually get traction in some of these countries where they were able to kick out certain leaders and stuff like that. But it wasn't one specific leader that was able to do it. It was more so just the ideology. And
I think it depends on the type of movement too. Like, it gotta be. So the Arab Spring and movements that are leaderless, they usually have a thing in common where a large amount of people can have a commonality. Like you're not really projecting.
I think black people have that though. Like that's one common thing that goes amongst all of us is blackness.
I mean, like, all right,
who's the white leader? Who's the leader of white people?
Trump, right now.
Or is white supremacy the thing that keeps them?
If we talking about movements, like what white movement?
The whites definitely have leaders amongst their like groups.
Yeah, they have like thought leaders.
They've got niggas that are like looked at as the dawn of their groups for sure.
But racism doesn't have a leader, or white supremacy doesn't have a leader.
They have leaders.
That's an ideology. That's an ideology that just
they got people that take on the mantle.
But the ideology is bigger than all the leaders.
But that's what I'm saying. You have to have an ideology that is broad, that can be leaderless. Like
I agree. Yeah,
the Me Too movement is a lot of women who experience rape, molestation that can relate. They don't have to have one woman leading it. They can all collectively come together and say, "Me too, I'm a part of that." That becomes a movement of change. Like the whole point of a movement is this movement is going in a direction and is creating some type of change. So depending on what you're trying to move, some things gotta have a leader and some things don't. White supremacy has leaders throughout history that take on the mantle and they continue the baton, throughout history. But it's also not a movement right now because it's already established. So they don't have to like.
I disagree. It's still it's a movement. It's a reignited movement rather to like it's like there there was a point in time where it was like considered shameful to be taking pride in being white. Like you wasn't really sticking around your chest out talking about like, man, I'm white and I'm so proud of my
currently is a rebellion from the 2010s.
There's a reignited rise in that sort of like feeling, in my opinion, that wasn't necessarily there growing up.
Yeah, you got a rise in white nationalism for sure, and that's like a subgenre of white supremacy. You got the white supremacy that's already established, but then you have white nationalism that is its own movement under the umbrella of white supremacy. So with that, I agree. And they got Proud Boys, they got MAGA, they got these different groups that. Their whole thing is like white nationalism, bringing back days and stuff like that. But as far as like a movement of a smaller subgenres, they typically have and need a leader because you don't have a large amount of people that are on that wave, And
I mean, like truthfully, I think MAGA to an extent, even if you run MAGA from like 2014 MAGA, before Trump got elected. Or if you do the far right, when you look at the Nick Fuentes, the Charlie Kirks, like a lot of these guys, they started out really like semi-small, going to the point that you made. But they galvanized a bunch of people to where now a lot of those talking points have become mainstream. You hear Tucker Carlson, he'll run down almost the exact talking points. You'll hear the Ben Shapiro's, they'll run down the exact talking points. Just going to the point of what you're saying, like a lot of these things, an example of it could be, and I guess, well, I'll let you finish. But I guess I wanted to kind of go.
I think FBA as a concept and is a great thing, but I think it needs a stronger leader to take it to the level it needs to be at because of the disorganization, because of so many different thought patterns and the division within FBA itself. Like you need a leader to kind of like align shit, to give people action items and deadlines, and this is what we're going to do, and create the code and find somebody that everybody can trust. I think that's really what's missing from the FBA is a really strong leader. I don't think it can be just grassroots on some like Me Too shit because a lot of people are not on that code, as Trey would say, or on that same way. It needs a leader that's out in public, on the mainstream, that's trusted by the large majority of FBA people to like really take that movement to the next level. But if you have people,
so we all agree that sorry, I'm going to cut you off, but we all agree, like what John was saying, that the ideology is like leaps and bounds like more important than having a leader, right?
I think it's important, but I think
way more important.
I think when it comes to action, I think when it comes to action, you need a leader to keep things.
No, but can you like answer the last question though?
To me, I don't know. I think that it depends on like the doctrine. Like a charismatic leader can
need a
go way further.
You need a salesperson.
Yeah, a charismatic leader can go way. There's mad ideologies that's solid and fire. Yeah. And that if you follow these things, that they work perfectly.
You need a
But
salesperson, bro.
But yeah, if you don't have a charismatic leader to sell it to people, that's why, like, again, you look at NOI and Malcolm X, like, you had a charismatic leader that had really great information and could disseminate that to people to where it was a perfect marriage. But all that information existed before he got there.
So it was
when he got there and he sold it to people on the pulpit out in the streets of New York, and then he was able to actually sell this ideology that was already fired.
You know, what's FBA without Tariq? You need a salesperson. You need somebody who can sell that message to a group of people.
But if FBA got hit by, I mean, if Tariq got hit by a bus tomorrow, FBA was gonna go on.
But you needed him to establish.
He's the one who's mainly popularized it, though. Like, he's the de facto leader.
Like, you needed somebody to like make it like a thing. And Tyreek, like, for better or for worse, like he made it a thing. Like, it's a thing. It's a known thing. And without him doing what he's done to sell it, what would the conversation be?
Like what's the light skinned girl who runs ABOs?
But she calls it. That's why they kind of had to divide, because she's like, I'm the mama of this. I'm y'all's leader type deal.
But nobody know her though. She not a good.
Like Yvette Carnell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's not like on Tariq. His name, his platform.
Well, that's the ADOS shit, right? My bad.
But ADOS has done what?
American Democrats of Slavery.
Oh, damn.
I don't know. ADOS don't have a real face, in my opinion. Like,
I think
I don't really.
Every time I've heard somebody speak on, well, doesn't she run it?
Yeah, she's the leader, but that's what I'm saying. Because she's not a strong leader, her movement has faded, and FBA is like,
I get what you're saying.
At the same time, though, bro, Tariq Nasheed must not be very convincing if he goes out of his way to go on and on about, hey, he does not want to be our leader. He's not trying to be a leader. He wants to spread information and spread an ideology so you can go and like
make a joke about Tariq. I guarantee you, he seemed like a leader to the niggas that follow him.
But yeah, I mean, look, that's what I'm saying. Trade, like you, somebody saying they're not trying to be a leader versus having like a following of, like, at the end of the day, he has a very much a core following that he speaks to, and per like meeting you, like a lot of what he speaks about is a reoccurring FBA call, like where like that's something that he drives. He drives that in the driver's seat. He's not a passenger. He's the driver's seat.
I think. Hold on. Hey, Trey. Hey, I think
it was good.
I'm not saying anything critical.
I'm not saying
you're misunderstanding something.
Hey, hold on.
Very critical.
I don't think having a leader is a bad thing, especially to like galvanize and to like the snowball effect, to get the snowball rolling. But if the ideology is strong enough, and that's the goal, even as a leader, you want to start something that can live on beyond you, and you want something that, like, if you're a leader, you want the thing to like go on beyond, like, even if you die.
But
that's the sign of a good leader, and that's the sign of a good movement.
Mouthpiece.
Is that a good leader, or is that like a good ideology?
The sign of a good ideology. The sign of a good ideology is even if the leader can die.
But Johnny,
I agree with this.
And then now, and it keeps on going. So, like, may it be important for the start of it? Yes, you might need one to get the shit rolling. But once it starts rolling, a lot of these great movements can be leaderless, because it's about.
What are some of the great movements that have been leaderless, though,
for us specifically?
And look at our movements, because like there's a reason why COINTELPRO targets Black leadership specifically in North America.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we don't want. That's why we're trying.
No.
Don't want to make him a leader.
No, but you're missing.
Leaders are easily targeted and easily sabotaged, and then it wrecks the whole movement.
No. See. The thing is, the leaders, it's a reason why they're the focus, is because they're the most powerful to the mission. And so at the end of the day, if you want to have a strong mission, so you can use, say, Malcolm X, MLK, both examples of the times. These ideals that they had existed before them, and they both took their messages and ideologies to platforms that that reach heights that have arguably not been reached since then.
And they were leaders, right?
But hold up.
What happened to him?
But hold up.
There's a good Malcolm X rebuttal to what you're saying.
But hold up. Malcolm X dies. And what happens to that organization and the things that he was affiliated with? Does that wave still carry on like decade after decade, or did it start to tail off very quickly? Same thing with Martin Luther King. Like he was
I would say that the NOI tailed off after
for sure compared to Malcolm.
So Farrakhan didn't have a run. He didn't do the Million Man March.
I was gonna say Farrakhan carried it for a while.
He had a run
like that. Like he had a 30-year run at minimal though. Like,
but it was
my bad, 25-year run. Like the million. Are we gonna downplay
influential was Malcolm X?
He had the
but it's still, but the movement and the word still it's still like the movement didn't die at all.
But what you're saying is the whole point though.
It
like you agree with that.
It didn't keep momentum. I don't think the organization grew year over year, decade over decade. Like if you look at like the arc of like, and I don't have this data, but if you look at,
I don't know if it was as exponential, but I don't think
it plateaued off. Like after Malcolm X, things started to slow down. It's like
I'll look up the number, but I don't think that at all.
Most popular at the Million Man March in '95.
Nah, Farrakhan.
I don't think that was the most popular.
They're like
it had the million people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Y'all saying
I know my people. They joined after Malcolm X was dead. Like,
no, I'm not saying that.
Here, Jersey, like all these main hubs, like there wasn't a slowdown of Nation of Islam at all. Like Charlotte had a decent, especially Betty's Ford.
What about the radicalism?
Like half of Betty's, I say about a quarter of Betty's Ford, especially down near the bottom, is a lot of real estate owned up by NOI, and this is a lot of post Malcolm X.
Look at their headquarters. They strong still. And
but what about?
I don't know if I would agree. I don't know if I would. I mean, I'm not saying that they're weak as an organization. What I'm saying is, if we look,
I think their ideology was strong enough to where, as long as you had a charismatic leader, it can continue to carry.
But it doesn't really carry. It doesn't transcend. It doesn't transcend beyond the Muslim community the way Malcolm X did. Like,
thank you.
Like it's a different.
What was the Million Man March then? Like that wasn't a Muslim. Like that wasn't almost a million.
It was symbolism, is what it was.
But the Million Man March wasn't like
like everybody that galvanizes to Farrakhan today. These aren't Muslims.
Nigga, that was symbolism, bro. What is the?
So you think Farrakhan's impact and credibility in the Black American community mirrors Malcolm X?
Right.
I don't know if I have to put it at like a 1-to-1 mirror.
Hold on, wait. Is it even in the same tier? No. Like it's even in the same tier of
for sure
for Black Americans.
No, but listen, like you're making it a 1-to-1 comparison. Like, am I going to say that Farrakhan is more respected or at the same level of Malcolm X? That's a hard comparison to make. Is he hyper credible in the Black community to this day? For sure. Like that's a weird like are we acting like Farrakhan just gets stepped on? Like that, that's not like
a lot of Black people do step on him though, actually.
Well, a lot of Black people
I don't be knowing it. Like all like Johnny's, like I hear him speak about Farrakhan highly. I hear like everybody I'm around speak about Farrakhan high, not non-Muslim.
My great aunt would tell you they didn't like Malcolm until he got shot. Like a lot of Black people didn't like him then. You know, he didn't really blow to his influence till he became a martyr. You know, like, but when he was alive, it was MLK. You know, that a lot of people wasn't rocking with Malcolm like that. And then he kind of switched over like right before they killed him. But they'll tell you that Black people was in the house. Majority of Black people was in the house, letting a lot of small amount do all the civil rights and activism and the shit in the street, but they were team MLK for the most part, and they started leaning towards Malcolm X. They started leaning towards Malcolm X when the violence against MLK happened and different people, and it's like, all right, maybe we need to get violent and stuff, but he didn't have a lot of fans like we think we did. He blew up when he died. Like people, like in our culture, when rappers die, they blow up. It was the same with Malcolm X. He had a huge following in New York, in Chicago, and was bubbling in the South. But it wasn't until he got killed that everybody started really paying attention to the things he was saying.
Yeah, until they made that Spike Lee movie, especially because a lot of our parents' generation, they thought he was a little bit too radical. But as far as like radical,
tell me all the time, she's like, niggas was not fucking with Malcolm like that. He said, she's like, he fucking with them white folks, go get everybody killed. That's exactly what my 7-8-year-old said.
but as far as revolutionary and radical, like being like that, you think
somebody echoing.
Like it's John.
Yeah. All right, we good.
So as far as like being revolutionary and as far as being radical and rocking the boat, you think Farrakhan and Malcolm X is in the same boat that way? Because I think if Farrakhan was that way, he wouldn't be able to.
He wouldn't be alive.
But isn't he like banned from all like national
social
TV
medias and stuff?
But so
like
so the answer
what else
is
would you?
yes. As far as revolutionary radicalism, like Farrakhan is just.
But he's been labeled anti-Semitic too. So like there are.
Right. But does that mean
how about this? Like this is where I don't want to keep making a comparison. Like if we're saying is he as much as no because like there's two answers. Like if we're saying is he as much as Malcolm X or is he really and what is the term that you because to me comparing him to a martyred figure. Like it's always going to fall short, and we can just like make these little examples out of like these ones and twos. But what was your question? Is he as what is Malcolm X?
The radicalism and the revolutionary like spirit I think Malcolm X infused into us. You think Farrakhan?
So where do their messages differ at? How about that?
By any means necessary.
Farrakhan is the exact same thing.
He says that all the time.
Yeah, I don't think that's really the like, and I just want to be clear on my end. What I'm simply saying is that I think the influence that you're crediting Farrakhan in terms of the average Black American perspective, I don't like the average Black American knows certain names when it comes to quote unquote the Black movement sphere and so forth.
Okay.
I'm not saying Farrakhan is unknown or even uncommon, but what I'm saying is that when it comes to the average Black household, he's not going to always be like somebody that's moving the needle in terms of when he speaks, people are listening and wanting to follow his words.
But that's a different statement. You asked about credibility. I think that he's hyper credible in the Black community.
But what was the first
I think
question,
that's from older people to like the rappers, and then if there's a beef or like Farrakhan, because like they go to Farrakhan for a lot.
He's an elder in the community. He's
a respected.
But the whole reason this even came up was because I brought up Malcolm X and the fact that when he passed, so it's like the way that you brought up Farrakhan, it naturally made a comparison to Malcolm.
Right. No, I just said that but so do we disagree that he continued the torch? Like the torch?
Yeah, that's where we disagree. He may have. So
like, but their biggest moments, like if I'm not mistaken, I was just trying to look it up, but I think they peaked in the 90s. Like the NOI
they peaked under Farrakhan, and
like the peak didn't happen during Malcolm X, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's
when Elijah Muhammad died, some Jim Crow to civil rights.
But when you say they peaked
in popularity, it's not like
membership or influence, impact. Like when you say peak,
every way that you would like from them having schools, them having like membership. To the like them having the wealth of what they're doing, them having their own programs. The peak of all of this was in the 90s.
Yeah, and like
those programs didn't exist before the 90s.
I'm not saying that they didn't exist. I'm saying that they peaked, right? So like I'm not trying to compare Farrakhan to a martyr and be like he did better than him, but what I'm also saying is that at the minimum, he kept the torch going. Especially if we're saying that they peaked.
So
like, I don't understand.
Let's stay there. Let's just stay there then, because if they peaked in the 90s with the same leader, would you say that they're far from that peak today, from your perspective?
I would say they.
Yeah, I think that there's been like a downturn, but I think that that's with all religious movements in general. Like we are becoming way more like that. Of a theocratic society.
But like so I guess this is what I'm saying. It's like you could say that if you want to highlight the Million Man March, which wasn't just Farrakhan either. The NAACP was involved with that. Multiple civil rights organizations were involved with that.
I'm not just highlighting. I just said that, like the NOI in general peaked in the 90s. Like how about we can move the Million Man March and just talk about their membership and like their power in the community and their impact in the community, and them also having like, whether it's schooling, whether it's real estate wealth.
You
like
think
that,
so? You
that was
think
the
their
peak of that
influence
time.
to the community in
Media
the
as well.
90s is more impactful than their influence to the community in the 60s and the civil rights era?
Now we're starting we're starting to use different words again. So like,
what's
all
the different words?
Well, you just said their
You said-
influence to the community. All I'm saying
That's
is
what
that
you said.
It's hard to quantify influence, especially in time.
I mean,
I never said the word influence. I talked about the tangible things that they were doing that were higher. So I talked about population. I talked about membership. I talked about their wealth. Like I never said the word influence. All I said is that they at least kept the ball rolling. And because influence is not a tangible thing, and that becomes now comparing somebody living to a martyr.
Influence is you can see influence. It's
okay. But then I would push to the Million Man March that was led by Muslims. If you go out there, it was nothing but Muslims. We went to the second. Well, I actually went to both Million Man Marches.
My question is, if they peaked in the 90s, do you think their peak was more impactful to the Black community in the 90s than compared to what they did to the black community in the 60s? That's just
I would have to look and see what they did for the Black community in the 60s. I think that Malcolm X was like a really amazing thought leader. I don't know what his tangibles in the community was. I know that NOI does have actual tangibles in the community today and in the 90s. And so like to me, like making a comparison of the root, like the start of a movement, to what the tangibles are now is like, it's like I don't want to make the argument that they're like they did more than Malcolm X. Because again, he's a martyr that didn't get to run his whole race. But if we're talking about what you can measure, the answer will be yes, though.
Yeah, like they were still building during that time. They wasn't as big as they was in the 90s. And then when Elijah Muhammad died, he passed the torch to his son Wallace Farr, who wanted to close down, who shut down NOI. It was Farrakhan who brought it back on himself, restarted everything, and he put it in overdrive. He like turned everything up on them. So he took them up in their business, their finances, their schooling, their mass media, all of that.
Elijah Muhammad. So it sounds like Farrakhan would be more comparable to Elijah Muhammad than it would be comparable to Malcolm X, because they both spoke on issues, but Malcolm X was more of like an activist, like hands-on in the streets doing stuff.
I mean, if we're talking about different roles they play different roles, because
exactly. So who's Malcolm X? But
they both
don't have
an NOI, to be fair.
The NOI don't have a Malcolm X no more. They have Elijah Muhammad.
They have plenty of Malcolm X's. I'm going to the community now with the NOI tomorrow at Merrick Park. Like nobody wants to be that anymore because you will get killed. So they're on their grassroots. They don't need that no more. They've already built their organization, so they don't need a mouthpiece. That was Malcolm X's role. He was the minister of that, like literally to go out.
Nobody's feels Malcolm X.
But no. All right. To be fair, there is in Chicago yearly, which is broadcasted nationally, is Savior's Day. And
but nobody's feeling Malcolm X's shoes, bro. Like y'all can't give me a name.
My bad. Yes, Farrakhan is filling Malcolm X's shoes. For sure. They're both
Elijah Muhammad shoes.
No. Because of like Malcolm X was the minister and spokesperson for the Nation of Islam. That was his title. And that is what
Elijah had the same role.
No. Farrakhan is the minister and was a spokesperson for the Nation of Islam.
Elijah was a spiritual leader. He wasn't
over the NOI. Elijah Muhammad wasn't over the NOI.
Yes, but
he didn't speak. He never spoke.
His role was a spiritual leader. They had different roles they were designated to. Malcolm was specifically given the role to go out and spread the message of NOI to the city, because that was his gift of speaking and being an orator. So he told them, go set up different mosques, go spread our message, because they wasn't as big as they did. He did spread it to a certain level, and then Farrakhan took it to a whole other level too. But they're not comparable. It's just like when you die, you're a martyr. Nobody knew about Khalid Muhammad till he died either. Now people watch this YouTube, they show clips of Khalid, but it's when people die, they are heightened. Just like our rappers. You can't feel Tupac's shoes, Nipsey Hussle was cool when he was alive, but when he died, the nigga damn near became a hip hop god. You know, you can name any rapper that passed. Like every time you die early, your message, your whole being is just heightened. So Malcolm is Malcolm. There's never going to be another Malcolm. You can't compare to him. You can't speak like him. But Farrakhan is up there. He just lived longer, so he has more time for people to dilute him. But if he died early too, they'd be saying the same shit about him.
But do y'all at least understand our rationale for being reluctant to raise a person up as a leader, given our history with having a leader be a person that's easily corruptible, easily targeted, even dealing with that on the continent with their government, where they have a leader, government, they have their own government, but that one person can wreck the entire economy if they're corrupt. So we don't want a leader anymore. So when we see people try to make Tariq a leader, say he is, we see that as a threat, because you were putting him, you're trying to push him in the front lines to put himself at risk. Well, we don't want that, because given our history, the goal is to try something different.
The thing about Black people is we can't have a leader unless they infallible. Like you always have to be like righteous,
right?
No
you
mistakes.
Make my point.
I know that's what I'm saying. I agree. If I'm Tariq, I wouldn't want to claim leadership either, because then they're going to dig into him, and that's going to dismiss the whole movement. But we still need leaders. We just don't have any, because we put them on such a high standard. Like they gotta be.
Black. Let me throw the question that leads to the exact conversation y'all had. Can we trust our current activists and thought leaders, or are we holding them to too high standards? Thoughts?
We can't trust them because Black. You see what happened to Black Lives Matter, and like
but there was lesbians.
Yeah, and they didn't really have
until it was too late. Yeah. We didn't know that until it was too late. And like we thought Black Lives Matter was for us, and then we found it. We was like, oh shit, it's a movement and an organization. And like I remember the split. I was like, oh shit. I remember having to explain it to people at work. I was like, nah, I don't fuck with the organization.
But I think it's hard to trust leaders now, because with social media like it is, it magnifies your name, and it's hard to like not get caught up in your ego now. And I think people kind of start off with good intentions, and they start getting that fame and getting that attention, and it's like a very rare small percentage of people that can balance both of them. So we see people kind of start off wholesome or genuine, and then they blow up, and then you start seeing a side of them, and it's like, I don't know. So it's like that fame thing, I don't think too many people can handle that, because none of our leaders of the past, although they were known, they never experienced the level of attention that these new so-called thought leaders had. It's kind of like what they say about
gratification.
What they say about like LeBron and shit, like in the media age that he lives in, you know, versus Jordan and certain people, like the level of tension, the 24-hour news cycle different people get. That's a lot on your mental to deal with. So to balance that, you can be somebody like a Umar who got good intentions, but falls prey to the vanity and the narcissism that comes with social media, that can joke around with stuff and also like make good points and be serious. We was talking about 19 keys in the joint, like in the group chat. And like I said, I like a lot of his messages and stuff, but as somebody pointed him out, then I kind of started paying more attention to it. I can see him start to fall victim.
Yeah, bro. Hell yeah. We're not buying $200 baseball caps from Tariq Nasheed. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. How much and then who else? We got Rizza Islam. It's like
intellectual power. I route with that.
You know, I like him.
I haven't seen what's the flow on Rizza so far. Like I know he's NOI. He's heavy on the vaccine things and or anti-vaccine, should I say? I haven't personally seen the smut yet. Is there some smut in the air?
I haven't seen nothing too crazy on him yet.
Yeah, he seems like he's fairly solid.
But he also seems like he's been shadow banned in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah. No,
we're not seeing a lot of him like as much as we did. So that happens too. If you are like kind of on the right track or saying the right things, then they just gonna block you out. You know, they go take you off their YouTube and take you off these platforms and stuff. And it's like, oh, we got to build their own. But then
they did the Farrakhan too.
Niggas won't get on them platforms. So I don't know. And then if you, like I say, then you have somebody, then people want to kind of point out their flaws, like, oh, he sleep with these women, or he did this in the past, he did that. It's like, it's hard to have a leader today. So that's why nobody really wants to claim it, but it's still needed. Just because you don't want to claim it, just because we know what would happen to you, it's still very needed. Like, the people have to have something to follow when you in the movement. Somebody got to lead that movement, or it's going to implode.
But what I don't understand is, though, you understand our rationale for not wanting to put anybody in that position.
I do.
Okay, you also understand how Black people, we don't protect our leaders. We don't really support them the way we should when they're advocates. And we also, pick them apart. So if you understand all that, then why wouldn't you get behind a new strategy, which is like way more revolutionary? We could be more effective, which is us not having a leader and trying to focus on getting more of us to be on code.
Because when you got somebody that's willing to die for it, you got people that's willing to follow it more. Like, you're gonna have to die.
Black, I think that's a good point. Like, if you have a code, and that's the thing with like a lot of the Islam movements, people have to be willing to die for the code, and that's the only way you can have a leaderless movement. But like, if it's no leaders and nobody's willing to die, there's a lot of leeway. But if people are,
you saying nigga, it's got to be a martyr for it.
Yeah, you can't be like,
I mean, it kind of have to
though. Want them to do me like they did.
Got to.
We already got martyrs. How many more martyrs do we need?
I mean, but like, how many martyrs?
I think that Trey, you tend to say that, like, right now, y'all are trying to do a different version of a movement that I don't like. I guess is the bad way to say it, but I don't think that there's a martyr for the version of what y'all are doing, because
it's different. I guess because you have to look at it in context, because the people we're trying to pick up from a generation that wasn't concerned with what's going on in faraway lands. They were like, I was looking at a documentary about some people that they knew people that were on former plantations, because during the civil rights movement, the people that were in that movement, they actually knew people that were former slaves. So their mentality there was to rectify that here in America. So that's what FBAs are trying to pick up. I think in between there was like a heavy dose of Pan-Africanism that kind of threw water on the flames of that movement. So now we're trying to get back to the people that prioritize what was going on here, like the community organizing, feeding the kids here, everything like that. So our martyrs are from that era.
I get what you're saying. I think that like the newer version of what y'all, I think history's built on itself. So inside like the long form of it, I get what you're saying. I understand what they're saying as well. But going to the idea of leadership, do you think that you can have order and structure without a leader?
I think we have to, man. Because
how do you get order and structure without leadership?
Hold up, man. How is it, Trey? I gotta understand. How is it that I don't understand. So you saying we shouldn't have leaders amongst our people?
Not in the way that it sounds like y'all are making it saying. We can have like class leaders at church, you know what I mean? We can have community organizers, but as far as like having a movement and being like, this is our leader, where we had the Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, all these people that were assassinated. I don't think we should have like a coalition of de facto heads of our movement. The heads of our movement.
Men shouldn't be at the head of the movement leading the way.
Not individual men. I think we need the collective of Black men to be on code, yeah. And the collective needs to be the leadership class.
So Trump say tomorrow, FBA, I want to hear y'all petition for reparations. Send 3 people to represent y'all. Y'all wouldn't have 3 leaders to send?
I don't know if you would call them, like, we do need political mouthpieces, that's for sure. Like people that are vetted, people that we know are on our agenda. We need those people to get there. But I don't think white people look at politicians as like their leader. Like they have people that represent their interests. We
You
definitely
don't think that white people look
represent our
at
interests.
Trump as their leader?
So
Some
okay,
do,
okay,
but not
well,
as a collective.
who would represent the interests if it's that way? Then who would represent the interests if they were called to the table?
Well, that's another thing that we talk about and we're working on now. Right now, we have Marcel Dixon. He ran for office. He's reparationist and talks about FBA prioritizing us first. There's another person that like we vetted a few, like New Black Media. They brought up Jill Scott, interviewed Cornel West, interviewed Jill Scott's the running mate to vet them and see where they stand. But we have trained our political representation that they don't have to do anything for us. So it's going to take a while for us to reverse that. And then they're not going to believe us at first either. Like this election was good where a lot of the grassroots are like kind of sitting this out. So it may take another election of us sitting out before we have people to, take us seriously. But what we can do for now is vote out, not support the people that have proven not to have our interests at heart. That's step one.
So
Did you answer this question?
I answered the question. Marcel Dixon is one of them. We do need political mouthpieces. The people.
So he said 3.
Oh, okay. So if that's the point, I'd have to pick up people who were thought leaders, people who like they're intellectuals who are with the cause and they have good like talking points. Everybody has people that make good talking points, but the talking points are supposed to be to reinforce a code, not like it shouldn't matter where it comes from. You not really need to quote them or anything like that. The point, but we do need the people that generate a lot of these talking points that we could pick people among us to go speak on our behalf. That's cool. But I think we should shy away from claiming someone to be our leader because that makes them a very easy target. And that's like from a military perspective, given like what we've learned.
But
like,
if you don't claim them,
do that is an op.
But
like,
let me ask you this. So would you say that even if you don't claim them, do you need leadership?
It depends on what you mean by leadership, bro.
Even the military got generals.
We don't need another Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, bro. Like it's idiot.
So I just clarified it again. Like even if we're not talking about public facing, do you need a leader? All right. How about this? This would be an easy way for me to walk it. Do you believe that successful movements have organization, structure, and strategy?
Like, give me an example of a successful movement.
I mean, the Black Panther Party. You got Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale.
And what happened to them?
I mean, we can talk about what happened to everybody at any movement, but they had success.
That's important.
We're trying to avoid. You got to become something to happen to you.
Trey, we MAGA. That's a successful movement.
Let's talk about. I think it's easier if we talk about Black people.
No, you asked what was a successful movement. I'm just talking about successful movements in general.
I can talk about MAGA, but it's going to be like a apples to oranges comparison because.
All right, so again, right now, I'm moving like we're not talking like this doesn't have to be FBA at all. I'm just saying in general. Do you believe that movements need structure, organization, and strategy?
I think we just need a code, bro.
So you don't believe that structure, organization, and strategy is important for a movement? How would you develop a cohesive code without structure, leadership, strategy?
Actually, I'll take that back. We do need a strategy.
Who enforces the code?
The grassroots. Well, grassroots, like right now, if Tariq Nasheed did something off code tomorrow, like the people would call him out on that.
Okay. And then what?
Then I guess that's an example of why the code is more important than the leader. Because then,
does he get to keep doing what he's doing? Is he like? I guess
not if he's not accountable for it. If he's not,
black leaders got to be perfect. Like I was saying earlier, once a nigga do one thing that's deemed off code, that nigga's not leading shit no more.
He's got to be accountable for it.
You break the code with NOI, they used to kill niggas. Like
it depends on what
they used to kill niggas. Like
it depends on how egregious you are. Like if you're doing
taking, but if you don't have like leadership and right or left, but if you don't have leadership and structure, how do you enforce the code? outside of like social media banter. I imagine like so when we say breaking the code. All right, so my bad. I imagine that you look at like a movement being further than just simply what happens online, and that there will be like some version of manifestation inside reality in the real world with what happens, whether that's tangible things getting passed, like we can run down the line of different ways that you could make a movement manifest itself in reality and not just be online, where Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube doesn't matter what the people say. What I'm asking is if somebody actually defies the code in real life and is going against it inside a way that is tangible and detrimental, what would be structure, organization, and strategy to actually handling that if there's no structure, organization, and strategy?
The people
and who would be enforcing this thing
of the code, bro? Like everyone who's on code recognizes instantly when someone does something off code, and when they do that, you ostracize them. If they show that they understand, like there's place for grace if a person is, like shows that they clearly understand they made a mistake. Like you don't have to be perfect, but if you are,
but what if they're actively being detrimental to the community? Then how do you enforce the code against them without organization and structure?
We quit supporting them and we ostracize them. The grassroots shuns them. Like I can tell you examples of.
Okay, so all right, so just staying where we're at. So if the grassroots shuns them, but they continue being like, let's just say like they have the money to be detrimental or the influence to be detrimental against Black America, or against directly the FBA, who then would be enforcing past the internet what happens to this person by the code?
Without the grassroots support, they really can't like hurt us.
So, okay, do you believe that outside of what is helping y'all? I guess maybe this would be an easier way to address the conversation. Does everything that helps Black people exist on the internet, or could, like, let's just say a politician, could they pass a law that is detrimental to Black America, but they still stay in power and like they continue to wield that power?
If that's the case, that's why we have to start getting our own elected officials and get behind them. Because if we recognize someone's being on code, what you do when you're on code.
But if they're Black and they're elected not by FBA, but they're wielding power and being used to go against FBA, what would be the apparatus that stands in place to actually enforce the code against them?
You don't think FBA can delegitimize people? Like, but if grassroots.
If they're not elected by FBA, you don't have to, like, it doesn't matter if you delegitimize them.
I mean, I get what you're saying. There are people that get used as tools all the time, but I think
what would be the apparatus to enforce the code against them?
I guess make it uncomfortable for them to be able to be among us. Like then they become racially homeless.
But okay, so
without
organization, leadership, and structure, in essence, it's saying like there will be no way to enforce a code outside of things on the internet.
They just go roast them to death.
No, but I think like again, bro, this is an example where I think that I've seen the Black grassroots delegitimize people and go on campaigns where they lose their power, because a lot of the power that these Black people exist is their ability to cloak themselves in, Blackness or whatever, and then come among us and be like a Trojan horse. If we call them out and recognize them, that makes them less useful to the dominant society. That's why a lot of these, the Democrats right now, because they weren't able to galvanize the Black vote the way that they were supposed to. But that's why you see a lot of them getting pushed to the front lines, because we delegitimize them. And the white supremacists break all the tools when they're done with them. It's not like a Black person is going to go among white supremacists, go help them out, and then get treated like family.
But that's like the white, not the Black Republican playbook. Like all of them, they shit on black people. They play into the racist tropes and like highlight that as propaganda. Marry white women or white men, and they live amongst them and continue to do that.
I mean, if that's what they choose for their existence, to be around people that
Right,
don't
right.
respect
But my thing is that like
have your own people who don't respect you, then like I
but
guess
if they're shitting on black
life.
people as propaganda, it doesn't sound like that's a means. But what I'm saying is that if this is hurting black people in general, shouldn't there be a way for the code to actually enforce the code on these people that are intentionally intentionally hurting black people?
Like, our only power really is to delegitimize them. And if they're cool being seeking shelter in the dominant society, and they're cool with not being respected, and they're cool with playing that token Negro situation, then they can stay over there as long as the white supremacists will have them. But it usually doesn't last very long.
Okay. G, talk to us in A Black.
I mean, unless we got a new question.
Okay. G, do you got a closing thought?
What's the question?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying we've kind of went off the rails here, but I guess the question would be, does a movement need organization, structure, and strategy?
Yeah, man. I think so. Every movement doesn't necessarily need strategy per se. Things can like Me Too, for example, became a movement. I don't really know if there was like a.
Oh no, it was definitely a strategy. But they also had that. Me Too was led by that, like, all right, so no ad hominems, but it was like the ugly black woman with the pimples on her nose.
Yeah, she's one person.
But then like they highlighted and used the strategy of cancel culture.
But
and so like they did the social media.
But I would argue they didn't like they like cancel culture was created out of the movement, and that wasn't necessarily like why the movement. What like when I say strategy, that means like you set out to do this to like get an X result at the end. Like you had a thought, a plan. You had a reason for doing X and Y.
It seemed like they ran the exact same play for every single body. They exposed, they highlighted the person, exposed them, pulled up bad things that they did, and then put it all in the media.
That was the plan, but it blew beyond that. Is my point. Like I think their plan was to expose something, but it became like a crazy movement where it went beyond just exposing niggas. Niggas was losing careers, getting canceled. They brought up the Cosby storm, got swept up into this whole thing. So it's like, I don't think like that was what people thought it was gonna do, is my point when it started. Like it kind of just swirled into something different.
You don't think that that's what they set out to do though? Like,
I think all the women that wanted to expose some people. Yeah, I don't think.
But I think that they was trying to get them out of their jobs and get them fired though.
Because that stuff wasn't really happening before Me Too. When you think about it, nigga get accused of some like sexual shit. It was like maybe a fine, a penalty. Like it was just like.
No, I get it. I guess to me it seems like that was what they sought after, and it ended up actually happening.
I mean, because she's not the first person to make this accusation. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it really became like a social media movement, like the power of social media, in my opinion. It's like
right. That's why I was like #MeToo. But to me, like that seems strategy, like #MeToo, and then we're running with this whole thing. Like that seems like coordinated in strategy and plan almost.
From my understanding, she started the hashtag, and then other people started sharing their stories, and the shit blew up like crazy. That's my understanding of it. It's like, but she's not the first person to go online and share a personal story about something happening with inappropriate with a man. You know what I'm saying? Like that Me Too movement, like I said, it was like a perfect storm of events.
It became like the structure and the organization of it. Do you disagree?
I don't think they had a real structure or organization either. Like I think that movement developed like talking heads, like came from it, like people latched onto it and was able to grow their brands and their reputations off of that movement. But I don't think there was like Like there's no Me Too. Like, you know, Black Lives Matter had a real like community called Black Lives Matter, a profit board. They had like they had an organization. Like I don't think there's a Me Too organization. If I'm wrong, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think there was like a Me Too organization.
I wasn't like specifically speaking about like having an LLC as much as like actually getting together and being intentional about how they strategize to attack certain things.
Because Me Too just took on the meaning of like saying like Google it. Like you got Me Too. Like it's like
I don't think that. I think that was. Yeah, I think Me Too was kind of like the whole idea that women, all of them could say Me Too. Like I also was sexually assaulted. It was like it went in line with the what believe all women type shit or something like that. But it was like an intentional, and you could almost group all these together under what is that, third wave feminism and shit like that. Like they had overlapping groups and movements that all kind of was like lined together that to me seemed as though it was like intentional and strategy.
I think people intentionally latched on to Me Too, but Me Too was an organic thing. Is the point of what I like this. The black girl that you're talking about didn't set to like it was really just a social media thing. Like it blew up and then people latched on and it went from there. It became bigger and whatever it was. But so I just say I don't think you need to have like.
Well, it is an LLC. I'm looking it up right now, but keep going. I can share this.
But that was probably after the hashtag had been created and went through the ringer.
Somebody probably just
somebody's making bread now at this point. Yeah, they probably did turn into some official. But
is it a difference between a movement and a trend? Like, do they conflate?
Well, that's something for us to get to kind of dive into, for sure. I guess I'll ask you the question that you're asking us, and we can all engage in that. Is there a difference between a movement and a trend, a black?
I mean, because I'm listening to a lot of things, and I feel like, you know, so we got a lot of things that become trends, and then they kind of like fall off. Like you remember the Bring Our Girls Back thing.
Oh yeah.
When the girls were being kidnapped in Nigeria, everybody was posting the hashtag, wearing the red t-shirts. Like, so
who's that African that we were supposed to like paint the city red over? I forget that he was supposed to be like, Kofi, not Kofi. What is it? It was they did like a whole media campaign. We can't hear you, Trey.
I know what you're talking about. It wasn't General Butt Naked, was it?
No, it wasn't Butt Naked. It was like General Kofi. Somebody in the chat help us. Y'all know
Butt Naked and barbecue.
No, that you saying something crazy right now. But damn it. All right, keep going, A Black.
So I'm saying like I feel like we have like a lot of trends that
Coney, that's what it was. Coney.
Oh yeah.
But my bad.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of trends that kind of, you know, mimic movements, but they like fizzle out. And I guess we have to define like, you know, what makes a movement. It's more of like a collective effort that's sustained versus like these hashtags that come up and everybody kind of wants to, you know, feel woke. So they kind of feel like a movement, but they just a temporary shift in behavior, you know, like posting the black box in your Abby and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's a trend, not a movement. Yeah, I get what you said.
So it's like the more we talk about it, I feel like even, I mean, I guess the Me Too has had like results for sure.
No, that shit had impact.
I feel like even
took some niggas out.
Trying to save Harvey Weinstein right now.
It took some niggas out.
Hey, Black, let me ask you this then. And I'll lend this to everybody else. It's exactly where you're at. What would you say are pillars to a successful movement?
Political change. It's long term. It's organized. Those would be the pillars to me. Social political change, long term sustainability, and, you know, organized. Not always organized, but organized.
So does it have to manifest tangible results? Is that
to be a movement? I think so, Because if you look at the most popular movements in history, you can usually point to something that it resulted in. Whereas trends, they don't necessarily always have like no results for real.
So what? So like, is DEI like a trend? Is that an example of a trend versus a movement?
I feel like it is somewhat trendy only because most people hadn't even heard of DEI before 6 months ago, and still to this day, I see people like not even really knowing what they're talking about when they speak on it. It's just like people are kind of adopting DEI to their own like personal things. It's about Black people. It's about women. It's about Latinos. It's about white women. It's about we can't get in the job. We can't get in this. And it's like, is that the definition or the purpose of it? You know, Target rolls back its DEI initiatives. Like people want to boycott.
Is that a movement? Hey, that shit might be having some impact. Is that a movement? This is a good one, actually.
All right, so I think that we're gonna get right back on topic.
That's a good one.
I actually heard some interesting things about that made me say, huh. Maybe G, you might be talking about something else on the economic side. I'm not too versed on it, but I kind of heard something out of like an earshot. But I did hear people speak about the Target and why Target movement. Again, I'm not one that's like out here boycotting. I think that we just got some diapers from Target. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's not like that's not an intentional thing that we're doing. But I did get information where I guess why they targeted Target, no pun intended, would be during the George Floyd whole incident. Yeah. They pledged, was it like it was up inside like $1 billion, like $2 billion.
It was $2 billion.
They pledged $2 billion to invest into the Black community. They put the start date as
December 2025.
Yeah, Black. They put the start date as what is it? December 2024.
No, 25, I thought.
25. All right,
25, yeah.
Yeah, December 2025. But and I guess they're also headquartered in the same town that George Floyd died.
Yeah, same city.
Same city. And what they did was under the Trump's rollback of DEI, they de-pledged the money. And that's why they're saying, okay, we're going to target them because of like they're intentionally de-pledging the money under the guise of DEI that they pledged for Black people for social justice.
When it before DEI was the thing.
Well, but that's also kind of like the frame that this is where it gets kind of tricky, because of terminology, like the terminology of DEI. Like there's not a DEI board, there's not a DEI organization inside the government, or anything like that. This just speaks to language inside contracts, inside hiring, whatever, that deal with whether it's diversity. This is why you hear Trump say any schools that have DEI inside XYZ, meaning like this specific language that I'm going to revoke funding. It's specific language dealing with like wording of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, to my understanding. But I don't know, like I lend this back to y'all saying all those things to where, like, to me, doing the research, it lands us inside an interesting space where we are in like sixth place when it comes down to who gets benefited from. Like you get the veterans, you get the handicapped, you get the Hispanics, everybody gets benefits before us.
White women,
well, they number one.
Yeah, exactly.
But who gets impacted first from judgment? Because they every Black person's questioned now, but also policy and like money invested is going to be Black people, and it seems like it is Black people. And I think that that's the interesting space of like this DEI conversation. I'll talk to y'all. Give opinions.
I feel like the masses of Black people really stayed in the same position. So when these things happen, like they not impacted as heavily because I mean they've been poor, they've been not having access, they've been not having opportunities. I think more so middle upper class Black people, the ones that's in DC working for the government, certain sectors of our community, they might be impacted. But I think overall, Black people don't hardly heavily get too impacted because when you talk about us as a whole, not the exceptional Black people, us as a whole, like their position hasn't really changed. You either go be poor, more poor, or a little bit less poor, but like none of this stuff really, they still moving and doing the same shit. Like, so like I see people that's affected. Like I got friends in DC that's working for the government, that's having to go, can't work from home no more. Or I got people who live overseas, they work with the UN or USA, and they got their funding cut. And they've had to like abruptly move back until things are renewed in June and July and stuff. But these are like still like privileged effects that I'm seeing happen. As far as like overall, I haven't seen a difference that's like going to change people that's been in the same situation already. So maybe somebody knows something different, but like the shit I see people complaining about is like first world problems. Like, okay, you got to go back to the office. I know that sucks, but take your ass back to the office. Like, I don't know what to say.
Man, I'll say if whatever, if the money that Target had pledged for the Black business wasn't lineage based, then I'm glad they canceled
it.
So you are all or nothing type of nigga, huh? You like
starve them out. I want them cut out of everything related to our culture. Every time.
Another thing I'll say about
is that not like cutting your nose to spite your
all
face?
or nothing.
Nah.
Like if it's going into the Black
metaphor.
community and like 95% of the Black community is Black FBA, why the fuck would we be worried about that?
Because they just
like the Nigerian, like these people aren't in the Black community. Like so, if I'm just asking because you said if it's not lineage based. So let's just use the word 85. We'll say 85%. If 85% of this money went to actual Black people and helped Black people, because of 15% went to whoever else it went to, you would just say fuck all Black people that was helped by that 85%. So like all 1 point, what is that? 65 billion. You'd be like, fuck it.
I think your question is under the premise that the money would be distributed reflective to the population proportions, which it's not.
No, what I'm saying, if it's pledged to the Black community, all right. So maybe this will be where we can start the conversation at.
Yeah, here go there. I got their 4 demands too on their website actually.
Okay, go ahead.
From the whoever these Target Fast niggas is, I got the demands.
Okay.
Honor the $2 billion pledge to Black business community through product, services, and Black media buys. 250 million deposit amongst 23 Black banks. Completely restoring the franchise's commitment to DEI and pipeline community centers at 10 HBCUs to teach retail business at every level. Damn, those are the demands.
That's what Trey jumped off the wagon.
HBCUs.
That's what he jumped off the wagon at.
We had
if it said PWI,
what's wrong with these demands? Actually, like I'm not mad at this.
I think as a rule,
this is actually like a productive boycott. They got demands. They got a goal. They want to try and make something happen.
When y'all go to Target, and I don't know about y'all Target in y'all neighborhood, who do y'all see working there mostly?
I ain't gonna know. We be doing pickup now.
Nah, bro. The Target I go to is in a specific city in Wake County that has a heavy South Asian population. So I see a lot of Indians, low key.
Indians working there. Yeah. And the ones I go to in Charlotte is mostly black people working there. And even with like their signage, I still feel like they do a lot of black shit. Like, to be targeted like this is like, I mean, I know it's a pun and everything, but like I see a lot of black commercials. They got a lot of black business in there. You look at they advertisements, black models. It's like, why just them? Like, why not Walmart? Why not Starbucks? Why not?
But that's why I led with
somebody did explain that too.
Well, they said because of the George Floyd thing. Well, damn, it was somebody. Maybe it was on the Breakfast Club.
It was Breakfast Club. It was a pastor, Jamal Bryant. Yeah, he did. I did.
That's where the George Floyd thing came at, and the whole thing, and then their headquarters in the.
His explanation made sense in my opinion. When he gave an explanation to what you're saying, he actually talked about it. I don't want to misquote him, but he talked about how they're starting with Target and they're going after others next. Like there's a plan to strategically go after these companies. Okay. But he's starting with this one, and then they're gonna do something next. So he's trying to. It sounded like he's trying to start Walmart.
I heard Walmart on the list now.
AG, has there been economic impact to it? I feel like you might have been about to.
I've heard people say that, right? Like some people are saying, but we really won't know here. They say black people spend $12 million a day in Target, which I think is interesting. If we spend $12 million a day in Target, but I'm hearing people saying that they feeling it, but I don't know. I don't know.
My Target still be packed. I mean, I try to get back by stealing from it, but that should be packed up in there. I go through self checkout. I kind of skip a few things. Reparation. You got to get your
allegedly.
But
allegedly,
the shit ain't look like it slowed down a bit up in there, and it's mostly us working there, so they paying niggas. But if anything, if we stop going, that's just a happy and safe space for white people. They go double up in there, like y'all niggas not going. Shit, we love it. And
what I will say, it's typically there's a Walmart black and a Target black for sure.
Yeah, when they was doing the Amazon 1 day 24-hour boycott, the racist white people was saying like we gonna buy double today. Like just like so it's like. This is what 12% of the population is up against. Like when we try to do these things on the financial shit, it's like it has to be consistent. Like 1 day, 40 days, it has to be like done.
Hey, Black, would you say that it has to be organized, structured, and strategized?
Oh, definitely. It got to be organized and it got to be consistent. Like you can't be like, all right, 40 days is up. Let's run the Target and like spend $400. I've been needing this and I've been needing that, and then you just go spend all the shit you would have. Like that's what happens is like niggas will like boycott and then they'll go back and just spend exorbitant amounts because they couldn't do it before. But it needs to be like boycotting, but also creating industries of the shit that they sell. So if we don't have something black that they sell, we need to create it. Who's a black toilet tissue company? Who's a black fucking cleaning company? Like who?
We got them.
And that's who we need to be. So when Jamal Bryant go on Breakfast Club with his boycott, then he needs to be highlighting these companies. Like, all right, let's buy this toilet tissue.
He said he got that too. He said he had something like that too.
That's what we need to do more of. And then we have to consolidate them into a place because the thing is, Target, Walmart has created convenience now so we can get all our shit in one place. So we got to have a black version of that where you can go here. All of these black companies are in this one place. And this is the black Walmart, the black Target. So you don't have to go cross town for this and cross town for that. All of this is in our store too. And that's what we need to kind of get to is like everything that they make, we got a black company that makes it too. And then
the tough part is that them niggas is working off of monopoly. And that's why all the mom and pops have died. Because they squeezed it where they put everything so low. That's what all that rollback and all that was.
I'll say
where they priced them out and then they pushed the prices up.
Target also has a lot of black brands in there too.
A lot, yeah.
And that's another thing that like has to be balanced out. If we're gonna do a total boycott, is like the black brands that Target has chose to highlight.
What's her name? Tabitha Brown. I guess that's what Tabitha Brown was making the case for.
And but
like, was putting her on the coon ship. But that's what she was saying.
But that, I mean that's the fact. I've seen Target, and that's the one thing why I even started going to Target for a lot, because they have highlighted black companies and black owned companies, smaller black owned businesses. And how do we balance that out? Like you say, we need to have our own version of it to where we can put them all in a space like a Target or a Walmart or like a retail space that's owned by black people that highlights and promotes and prefers black products. And I think
Mhm.
and then that's the way, boycott like this is gonna work. But like, because the Target's so big that they help black people. There's how many black people that work for Target, and
Mhm.
like y'all even said, so a total boycott without strategic and planned steps is always gonna fail, and it's always gonna affect some of the people it's trying to help.
Okay. So you saying that an effective movement would need steps, organization, and what did you say? Strategy.
Well, but we would need another a rebuttal, like you say, like the opposite. But like, there needs to be some place for black people to shop with black brands too,
Mhm.
because that's the thing that, like, if we boycott Target, there's a lot of black products that they carry that we would be hurting that company too. So we just got to think about that.
Mhm.
And a lot of their response has been like because some of the black companies in Target was like, all right, I'm with the boycott, just buy my stuff directly from me online and stuff. But like I say, that you got to do too much. People have already conditioned with convenience, so we got to create
Mhm.
an equivalent to
Equivalent.
these marketplaces where people can go,
Mhm.
and it's like all black businesses. Everything you need has been created by a black business. Like you need liquor, you getting Uncle Nearest, you need whatever. Like you, it's
So, hey,
all
Black, let
black.
me ask you this. What would be an effective strategy if we were to say in 2025 to realistically pull that off? Like if we're saying that we want to be able to separate away from these predominantly white owned organizations to be able to have our own spaces to where if we want to boycott and naturally we want to invest in ourselves, but if even if we want to, we can go to these. What would be the the actual steps to realizing that?
I think this first step until the infrastructure is in place to create that marketplace is to like limit the unnecessary things that are white owned. Like
Okay.
you need your necessary stuff. All right, your tissue, your cleaning, your toothpaste, or whatever. But something that's unnecessary, that's not a necessity, start cutting that stuff out. Like certain
Okay.
clothing that we wear. Do you need Gucci? Do you need well, I like Ralph Lauren, but you know what I mean? Like do you need certain people?
So
Like,
then,
Ralph started from the bottom, so I fuck with Ralph, but
so if we continue building where you're at, so how do we realistically build that infrastructure?
well, it's go it would take like I mean, shit. I wish I can do it myself, but somebody got to go and set the buildings up, bring in the black businesses, do the marketing, the promo for these things, get some big names behind it. But
But
yeah,
like if you were to set up a, all right, so maybe I'll take a step back, then we'll move back forward. Do you believe that this this marketplace is realistic, intangible?
I do believe it's realistic and tangible. How fast it can be done,
Okay. So
I
so
don't.
then I guess then I'll ask the next question, which you can kind of walk through how fast and like somewhat steps. How would you yeah, what will be the steps to building this infrastructure inside a realistic manner? Does this take like investment from XYZ to get XYZ inside this amount of cities that I don't know, like I'm kind of freeballing and
Yeah,
freestyling it. But again, we're saying that there is an issue and the solution is this thing. Uh is there a way that in a realistic non like infantilized way that we can actually work this out? And if so, how would that be?
first you start off with what we do have, like the companies that already are producing our necessities, the black toothpaste and the soaps and the tissues and the food and all of that. What we do have, and then we see what we don't have, and now you got a whole list of industries of entrepreneur that you can create. You know, somebody fucking need glass bowls. Like the most minute things that we don't think about is making somebody a millionaire, whether it's fucking pencils, sheets of paper, or something. Once we get the list of what we do have, we see what we don't have, and those are new black industries that people can go out and create. And then we pull in our people with money. We pull in our Robert Smiths and, you know, our Jay-Z's and all these people with money, and we get them to invest, and we start, you know, buying the properties and setting up across from the Target, setting up close to these places where people are already going, and, you know, one by one building them in these different cities. And then people can maybe, I don't know, franchise them out or whatever. But boycotting only to go back and buy it is silly to me. Or stocking up when you know a boycott is coming is silly to me. It's like, eventually we're gonna, and then it has to be some type of regulation and accountability with when we do start it, to make sure this money is going back into the black community some way, you know, and have our dollars circulating like everybody, like every other community does. But it gotta start somewhere. But like, there's a lot of companies that we already do have that are scattered across, and it's like it's time for somebody to bring them together. Like, they bring them together, they create these black business directories and stuff online and all of that. But it needs to be like physical places now that we can go to, that we know, like, all right, I'm going shopping, I'm going to the grocery store, I know every fruit and vegetable here came from a black farmer. You know, I know this milk came from this and that. Like, but we got to start it somewhere. Like, I'm not the economist or the biggest businessman, so I don't have like all the layout.
Yeah.
If you give me time, I can give a solid plan of it.
Gotcha. And I guess if I was to, and then I'm gonna go to you, Trey. Like, if I was to offer, just again, I'm freestyle. I haven't put any thought into this, but if we're talking infrastructure, I would imagine, to me, the first step would be getting a black real estate conglomerate. Like, when you look at a lot of these companies, whether you say like McDonald's is an example, they say that that's the biggest real estate company in the world. And I don't know if it's the world, but the United States for sure. One of the biggest parts of, you know, building infrastructure is actually the land and the real estate and all of those things. To me, that would probably be like the first thing. I would imagine that has to come through, if we're talking tangible realistically. Sometimes it's the horse and the carriage, but one, if there is a tangible way to actually get reparations, I think that an intentionality behind building that would be really, really beneficial. Two, it would be a intentional conglomerate of our wealthiest. And then that has to become like some version of organization between like that elite class, whether that's, you know, we go to our actors, entertainers, doctors, lawyers. But it would have to be a intentional mass investment, to me, in real estate, because of the products almost come secondhand, in my opinion, because of like that's the easier thing, as we see like the infrastructure of like Amazon and different things, like delivery things. But that'll be without though to it. Trey.
I was just gonna say that, man, that's a big that's a very common topic in the FBA community. It's a very common topic from Dr. Claude Anderson as well, where it's probably one of the biggest thing he speaks of. And one thing that they do in these spaces, they have like a FBA convention where vendors set up their, you know, things to, you know, share their products, and then they invite a bunch of people to kind of think tank and discuss and network among like business owners within the community there. And he also used to do this thing where he went to different cities and highlight black businesses there and give them a platform. So I agree, like a major thing we need to do is get enough businesses, because right now, like Parallel was saying in the chat, we don't have the infrastructure to be able to make an effective boycott, because at the end of the day, we're going to have to eat. So,
Johnny, talk to us.
What's the question?
Oh, Johnny lost.
No,
he looking at his other tab on the computer. I got you, bro. G, what's going on? You muted.
I think I agree with the general points, but like when we start talking about these black businesses on the face level, that is correct. But I think the challenge with black businesses is oftentimes they don't have black supply chains. So they might have, say, a black business, but where that business does business is typically with
the main
suppliers.
That's what Ye was talking about.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like
between making 1 millionaire and 15 million.
Yeah, we don't have no fashion houses like Ye was saying.
Yeah, and so it's like we need black people to get like almost back to like the basics of like, like we like, because like I said, just that supply chain of like, do you have factories or places to do shit like that? You know what I'm saying? Do you have black people who produce certain materials, you know what I'm saying, because they own the land? So it's like we get all our gold from here or get all our this from here. Like when you start looking at like that overall supply chain, I think that's something I would think would be interested in like looking at, because black business in itself, I don't want to say all of them are like this, but a lot of black businesses, like I said, it'll be a black business owner, but they buying t-shirts from somewhere that's white, like a white t-shirt company, and they putting their brand on it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Johnny, you back with us?
Oh yeah,
you need the question again. We talking about building infrastructure. We'll be
I definitely was on the
building.
I definitely was on the other tab, but
all right, Johnny. I'll lead you with this next question. What has been your favorite black movement, if you was to pick one?
I mean, I'll say it's gonna go back to a little earlier in the conversation as far as like the Nation of Islam has been one that like me personally I've interacted with. Huh?
You Nation?
I'm not Nation, but I fuck with it. I'm I grew up.
You grew up like Baptist, real
Methodist.
My bad. No disrespect.
So I ain't gonna say I'm like Nation, but like
you rock with the movement and what they did.
I fuck with the fruit, bro.
You hear that, G?
I done seen the fruit in action, and I done seen like the way they move. Even like when Nipsey died, that's one of my favorite rappers, and the way they had like they kept order.
Mm-hmm.
When it could have went out. So to me, I get a Nation, but I'll speak to the other question as far as like I do think black people need diversity as far as like when it comes to our economic and industrial impact. A lot of time people talk about entrepreneurship, but I think I saw one thing is like, don't call yourself an entrepreneur if you ain't employing people. And I think that's the thing, like with black people, we need to work on different industries, and not only the industries, but like A Black said, giving back and making sure that like selling to we own the whole industry from top to bottom as far as like production, supply chain, and I think that's something where black people miss the ball, or we don't even focus on, or we don't even try, we don't even strive to be the heads of certain industries and control supply chains. And I just think as far as perspective and what we care about, that should be something we should shift our thinking when it comes to that.
You can't really say we don't try though. Like we've had a lot of people knocked off trying.
But have we gone and started our own businesses in different industries? Or I'm not saying we haven't, but like us as consumers, we should support those businesses, and we should patronize black businesses in different sectors. And I think that's something that we don't focus on as much. Like even Target, when they put black brands in there, they put like beauty supply brands. They don't put different type of brands, and I think that's something that
you can't get that bohemian furniture. That's a black brand out of Target.
I mean, but like that's what you were saying though. We don't have the supply chains for a lot of that, and a lot of that stuff we did have supply chain, but there things happen that was like more sabotage. So where I think sometimes we're harder on ourselves than we need to be when we don't really.
I'm not saying, but that's what we should focus on. Though there's a reason they sabotage those things, is because it could be fruitful. And if the things they sabotage, we should focus on building back and be very intentional and deliberate about building those things back where they've attacked certain places, and that could have been strengths for us, and where they attack, we should build back.
But the thing is, though, I think we consistently build back, but where we fall short is protecting it. And when we talk about
that's another conversation.
I think that's a more important conversation.
But that comes with patronizing the businesses and supporting these businesses and us being better consumers. And
those are separate.
And even researching and even finding out these businesses and then putting them on platforming them. But that's a whole.
I don't know, man. I think protecting
businesses is patronizing and being customers of.
Trey, let me ask you this. What has been your favorite Black movement?
Man, this delineation movement, bro. Because for a long time, man, I would look at MSNBC and Fox News and know I'll disagree with both sides, but the only way I can understand what's happening is if I, look at both of that and then come up with my own conclusion. And then finally, there's a voice or the new Black media is people that speak on things like intelligently from a pro-Black American perspective. And we haven't had that in so long. So it's very refreshing to see like Black Americans like taking pride in our lineage for a change. Whereas before we used to like have to reach back centuries ago to some long lost connection that we're not really familiar with in order for like a sense of pride. And then like we just kind of have this lost child type of mentality. But now like there's a lot more.
New Black media. So all of those guys are a part of the delineation movement. Is that what you're saying? Like they're pushing like delineation conversations, or is that like
it's like a collection of like kind of anchormen. So like we have like you could say Tariq Nasheed probably like he might be like
he does delineation, but like then we like have Media Man. I forget what's his name. Media Man.
I don't know if
he's not like speaking on delineation at all.
No, he's not New Black Media. He's more like
you just be putting them in there and then saying you didn't put
him. Yeah, but no, I think you just assume. I never said he was
okay. But all right, so you talking about like Jason Black,
Tariq Nasheed, Professor Black, True Black Alpha Network, Afro Elite.
Okay.
Who? Oh man, nah, this shit too off code, bro.
What happened?
This shit way too off code.
What happened?
I said it too. I think we knew Black media. But.
Oh yeah, we fired new Black media. We the kind of new Black media that he don't like though.
Yeah,
we too on code to where
yeah. I just love the fact that because the new Black media has a sense of like self pride, and I think
we got fire self pride.
It's not really too much.
Yeah. You ever heard Johnny talk about his pride?
Man, because when you hear Black Americans standing. When you see a Black American stand out for themselves, you console like the op, and then like laugh about reparations.
Johnny, Real, some niggas with pride out there. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Sunday at 4:30,
Yeah. Listen. No off code, but niggas talk about pride like it's cool running. I see pride.
Laughing about reparations is like that.
All right.
Black media, bro.
Nonetheless, you said delineation movement. Hey, Black, before you get up out of here, what is your favorite Black movement?
I would probably go with the UNIA, Marcus Garvey.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like the amount of people he was able to gather at that time.
They had mad chapters across the world too.
Creating, chapters. I'm about to say that around the world. Buying and creating ships to actually like take people back to Africa. Like
who? You talking about Marcus Garvey?
You talking about my favorite? And you got your favorite? This is my favorite.
I was asking. You said who trying to take us back to Africa?
He said Garvey.
He said UNIA, the movement.
Oh. Creating his flag, the colors that still stand, the red, black, and green. To me, like that's sustainability. a movement, of a message that's still here, that so many other civil rights leaders, Pan-African, FBA, whatever you want to call them, have adopted a lot of his thought patterns, perspectives.
Why he ain't never go to Africa himself though? Why mean to cut you off? You don't think that's weird? He never been to Africa himself.
I don't really want to defend my choice, but that's my choice.
I got you. That's kind of weird.
Okay, all right, got you. G, talk to us. What is your favorite Black movement?
You gotta come back around if somebody else got theirs.
I think you the last one.
Oh damn! Let me see.
Come on, just go with the cop out. Just say NOI, bro. It's all right. Come on over here with us.
Favorite Black movement, and hip hop don't count.
That is a movement if you want to, but that can go to this follow up. Most productive, most destructive.
Yeah, but you know, my personal favorite, Black movement gotta be hip hop, man.
Okay, that's fair. All right. With that said, we do got some guys in the back stage. I was close. Listen, Trey, you listen. If it's one thing over this year that Trey has taught me, use backstage. It's so much easier.
Yeah, that's a real called you out, bro. It's like, damn, you gonna say that every week, bro?
Because I think maybe on here, I don't know. No, you do code. In coding, a lot of times we say back into the site, and that's where my mind goes straight to.
You'll be
it's being behind
the getting you at work, Trey.
I say I'm full of stacks. I don't really like that.
Wait, do white people play the pause game?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, but they haven't said. Oh, they haven't said a lot though, because a lot of times
y'all be hanging around the new whites. Okay.
I mean, they still do. New they still liberal their sexuality. I'm not gonna hold you.
You said the new. Hey, that's such a great one though. The new whitepians. Yeah. Now that's such a great one.
The new whitepians will be more likely to give us reparations. Or not give us because it's the government, but I ain't gonna know.
New Wapians was actually like another fire, but they actually moved closer to like cultish. I forget the name of the guy, but they had like the whole little compound out in Georgia. I ran across a couple woke females in the 2014s that was claiming New Wapian. Very, very interesting women. But saying all that to say, we're gonna start this call in, and first to the stage, bam. Unpacked favorite, Kofi. Talk to us, brother.
Yeah. I like the topic. It was a very good topic. Economics can be boring, but it is a very, very needed conversation. I like how the conversation progresses as far as like what are influential groups and how you guys it transfers to like, okay, we need to get ourselves together as Black people economically and give ourselves jobs. So I'm gonna speak to the thumbnail because I found the thumbnail very interesting. So out of all those groups that I saw, the most influential group would be the NOI. Hands down. Brother. Yeah. Hands down. It will have to be NOI. You know what I'm saying?
Even though we gonna let you keep talking. I will say this. I was hyper impressed with the Israelites when they pulled up on us.
I'm not like about them the other
day. And by that, like they have like order, they have structure, they got like they are in control of their media. Like even though we was recording, they had their cameras, they had their lighting, they came with their own pictures. And like you could tell that they have a real structure and strategy to even how they present themselves to the world. That I was like,
that is true. Bad. But here's the downside to those organizations, including NOI.
Mm-hmm.
They can only take you so far, right?
Okay.
NOI is more successful because even though it's a religious group, it also based itself in the reality of Black American economics and where we are, and they took charge of their own economics, where they eat, sleep, where they buy, and things like that, getting land. They had a real delineation movement, basically saying,
Like
hey, look,
it was the actual do for self thing.
yeah. If hey, look, white man, if you don't want to fuck with us, fine. You at least you didn't give us our 40 acres and a mule. Give us somewhere where we could be unto ourselves. So that was very strong. So they had the economic base. I wouldn't say the Black Hebrew Israelites, because that's more, it's my opinion, it's more of a cultish base, even though they do have discipline and quote unquote structure in their, I even like to call it an organization, in their cultish theocracy organization.
Kofi, talk to me. They'd impress you on that New York corner, huh?
Bro, I used to go to
I used
to be in Harlem. I used to go to their lectures. I was there. So if you guys know who Polite was in Sonetta,
Brother
the Black
Polite.
Theater. I was with all them Hebrew Israelites. I used to be all with them. You know what I'm saying? So they ain't nothing.
They're arguing with Brother Polite. He'll tell you that he'll make up his own language.
You ain't got
Brother Polite he didn't kick me out, but I was getting at some Hebrew Israelites, and I had like 7 of them around me. And Brother Polite's, yo, can you just take this outside because we about to close? You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So I mean, as far as them concerned, they can't only go so far. And don't get me wrong, I love the minister, I love Malcolm X, but at the same time, I think that organization is good for America, for Black people in America.
Yeah,
that type of thing going on the road is not going to be. Again, I'm agnostic, whatever. So I hope I don't offend anybody. But once you go on the world stage, Farrakhan gotta have to face that white Arab man, and he ain't got no smoke for that white Arab man. It's like asking a Baptist preacher that has smoke for other white Christians. It's just not gonna happen. You know
to me, the NOI seems like a primarily Black American based, Black in America based organization. I think Malcolm splintered from that once, like when he left a little bit, but like generally speaking, like it's kind of Black American,
completely different. It's not the same Muslims as we see in the Middle East. Like they don't even have the same like beliefs.
Well, it's not like they don't even consider themselves the same. Like there's Orthodox and unorthodox Muslim. Then there's like the NOI.
Yeah,
right.
Like it's its own section. Pretty much. Yeah, and that's typically partially through the interpretation of Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah, because when he went to pilgrimage, whatever, he said, "Hey, look, I saw Black Muslims, white Muslims, all type of Muslims, and whatever." Yeah. So that's where he kind of then he took on his African name, Omawali. So he went.
Yeah, you breaking up, brother. All right, so until you come back, we do got another one in the backstage. We have talk to us, brother.
There you go.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
What's going on?
Yeah. Yo, this is very this is special topic y'all speaking on tonight. I like to give a shout out to A Black, because he said everything that I wanted to say about how Black people could come together. You know what I'm saying? And it made a lot of sense. And to speak on like the favorite movement, I would say, like G said, hip hop movement. And one is because back in the late 80s to the early 90s, but right before gangster rap took over, the Nation of Islam was fruited. They were deep into hip hop, and a lot of hip hop artists from them. They also were more knowledgeable, and they taught people how to eat good, how to think good. They had people that want knowledge and want them to go to college and things of that nature. So it was in between, you know what I'm saying, right around the time with,
I didn't even think about it, because the 5% is just a branch off of Nation of Islam too.
So yes, and that's what I'm saying. It's like it helped out, even though a lot of people like you, they was like Kofi was saying about it being something fundamental for Black Americans. That's who it's for. We, you know what I'm saying? Everything for us isn't for everybody else. because everybody else don't go through our problems. You understand what I'm saying? The rest of the world don't go through our problems, and I'm not putting nobody else down, but we are the only people that other people, even they look like us, come over here and look down on us. So with us sitting here right now and saying that anything else beyond that is it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? But we need to take care of our own self. We need to take care of us that's here before we take care of anybody else. Because if we can't take care of us that's here, how can we help anybody else? Because we're only a small minute of the population, and there's so many of us that don't want to even deal with the things that's going on with us. And with all of that happening, we sit around and we want to argue and bicker, this, that, whatever. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have, care about other people, but we need to care about self first. Because if you got a dirty house, how the hell you gonna tell somebody else to clean theirs?
You finally got the old heads on board.
That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? It's there. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that need to get done. It's just, even if you're talking about things far as in people buying things and people manufacturing things. One thing is this right here. Why don't we, all right, it might sound bad, but hood love guns. How many gun manufacturers are black? How many black people make bullets?
We got gun
Nobody
stores.
can answer that.
That's it.
We have gun stores, but we don't have gun manufacturing companies. Even though, as I have said before here, Colt 45 came from a black man, Colt. That should be one of the richest families in the world, but it's not. Because everything we have, they take from us, or either they give us pennies for it, and we look at it, ooh, they're going to give us this, or this, that. Well, that's why it's no good black name clothing lines or anything else like this. Ralph Lauren buys, not Ralph Lauren, but Calvin Klein buys everybody. FUBU, this or that, whatever. Any good black company, all of them that had sold clothes, all of them, Calvin Klein bought all of them. And what do you do with them? Nothing. Because if you buy your competition out and sit it to the side, you know what I'm saying? It's just like something as far as just like wrestling. Like, I'm just saying, just for a second, Vince McMahon put up all the territories, right? He put up all the territory. He had no competition. He had competition for almost 10, 15 years before another wrestling company came in and did something. And speaking of that right there, I'm speaking of his wife. How is it that a wrestler, a wife that was the CEO of a wrestling company, becomes the board of becomes over education? How you come from being on? I love wrestling to death, but we all know that it's a soap opera. How you come up with this and you over that?
I heard Doge also laid off about half of the Board of Education as well.
Exactly,
but you get us into a different conversation.
Unpacked canceled.
Right now, I don't think he didn't go too far. He also gave there was some conjoining with the FBA family right there. I seen the chat. I seen Trey. The head nods was happening. Unc was Trey. I imagine you would say Unc was spitting for a second, huh?
For real, like I think we're finally getting through to. I think we're coming off the internet. You know what I'm saying? Finally getting through, especially to the.
You don't think that Unc always felt that way?
I think y'all finding middle ground more so.
I think that's just middle ground. Fellas, I got a question before because we was about to get right back into it. This will probably be one of the more spicier ways for us to leave off. But I ask y'all this. What has been our most destructive movement in Black America?
Shit. Black feminism.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, whoever. I'll put 2 minutes on the clock for everybody just so we can get everybody through. But yeah, you can start it off. All
right. As I said, our destructive movement to me was also hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop brought us to a epitome, but then once they sold out, as everybody else did to the white man, once they sold out to him, it turned to what it is today. Hip hop isn't even a culture anymore. What it is it's bullshit. Because once you let anybody come in there and dilute what you have, it's never going to be the same anymore. You can't turn anything that was once 100% into 100% no more once you dilute it. and it's diluted to the point right now that it's worse than the black church. You understand what I'm saying? Black church love black people, but you got a white Jesus sitting up there, and anybody with good sense know that Jesus wasn't black. Jesus was black, or a man of color. But that's what they did with them. He wasn't white. He ain't had blonde hair, and damn sure didn't have no blue eyes. But that's what everybody go to church want to look and pray to, and that's what they pray to, and that's what the culture turned to, a man of destruction that turned their whole culture into destruction. And that's what hip hop does now. It destroys people. It destroys the black man against the black woman. The black woman right now is the hardcore artist instead of the black man. You understand what I'm saying? If you look at where it used to be, you know what I'm saying, like R.I.P. Angie, Angie Stone just passed away. She was the first. She was the first. No. She was the first. She was in the first female black hip hop group. Signed to the first black hip hop label.
Talk to him.
So I'm saying things like this. You have people like, it's things that people don't even know, and it's things like that. But once they're rich, I'm sorry to say it, but you know who they were that owned the record companies. Once they came in there and they sat around and they did what they did, they diluted it so bad that hell, right now you can't tell whether you're drinking coffee or you're drinking water with it. What you're doing with hip hop, because it's just that bad. Hip hop destroyed our community.
All right, appreciate it. Johnny, I'm gonna throw to you. Quick question: when you did this, what did that mean?
No, don't, man.
Oh, my bad. All right,
stay monetized.
Hey, you saw that boy that got dunked on?
Which one?
Oh yeah,
you saw the boy.
I just seen them. I picked up my phone. I seen the like some of the great Cajuns they was fighting. Miles Plumlee and
they use bobby pins. That's all. That's what I heard. They use bobby pins. But,
okay.
that's what I heard. But I was gonna say hip hop. Like I was going. And that's just what I like. Hey, I did some research. That's what I heard. But I was gonna say,
I always wonder that. Honestly.
Yeah, sometimes you can get dunked on and get right back up, and it just still.
And it's still.
I never knew that how it stayed.
Yo, Philip,
all right, go ahead.
Hey, but let me go.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Don't start
let me hit the reset. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I was about to say hip hop, and I agree with everything Unc said. But shout out to TBI. I think he might have. I'ma steal it. I'ma steal it. But integration was the most destructive, because if you look at pre-integration, post-integration, we've talked about it before. We've talked about the progress that we have lost since then. We've talked about the slow detriment of our communities since then, the detriment of the black church. All of that has come post-integration, and I think the community that we want, the community that we speak of, I think a lot of the examples that we had were pre-integration, and it was a out of necessity thing. But post-integration, I think we forgot about community, and we were focused so much on assimilating that we didn't focus on building our own community and building our own, infrastructure. And that's I'm gonna take that answer. Shout out TBI, but that's where I'm gonna go with it.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Well, so I'm gonna give you two minutes, however you want to do with it. If you want to push back or give your answer, that's up to you.
No, I agree with what Johnny said, but you can't blame integration. It's like you blame integration, but then we're also accountable for it. So the problem with black people, just in the diaspora as a whole, is that white ice is colder. So we had our own businesses, we had our own thing, we were able to do that. But if your wife want that nice dress that Mr. Charlie got in the window, guess what? You were buying that nice dress for your wife. And again, it's the whole white ice is colder mentality. So with or without integration, it's
part of that. But integration was a part of that, though. Integration,
yes, but this is the problem. Integration was to allow us to partake in pretty much buying things from all businesses, right? Without Jim Crow. That's all integration was about. I'm able to go into this store that says no niggers allowed.
Products.
I'm sorry, Johnny, let him get his last minute out. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I don't mind having a conversation.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? But all integration that says that with a place that says no niggas, no dogs, no Mexicans allowed, right? You are allowed to go in there and buy it at your choosing. That's all integration was, right? Now that does integration never meant you leave your black market or whatever to do that. That's on us. That's not.
Can I interject for one? Can I interject for 1 second? Yeah. When we had our own, they tore us up. That's what they did, like Wall Street. And come furthermore, and this is the fear that they put into us. Back in 1985, they tore up blew a whole damn block up for black people that tried to get together. So when that come down to it, it had nothing to do with us not being able to do it together. Every time we get together, they fuck us up. So how can you do anything? People got tired, so they like the hell with it. We could get with this and get with that. So they decided to get with this because they wouldn't let us have it over there with the dad. So that's what it happened. It had nothing to do with us wanting to do that because we didn't want to integrate with them. They would tear our shit down every time we built it up. And that's that.
Kofi, 1 minute to kind of land your plan in rebuttal.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that, but two things to be true at the same time. Of course, they don't want to see black people build and thrive, but at the same time, you have to hold ourselves accountable that like it was Bruce's Beach. It was a black beach that white people took like a long time ago. They won the lawsuit, right? Black people won the beach back and they sold it right back. It's shit like that is what hold us back. You know, going forward, you asked a question earlier to the panel. What's your favorite black movement or whatever? And I'll pretty much agree with A-Black. It will be the Marcus Garvey movie because it's a Pan-African movement, and also like where the conversation went, especially where G brought up. Yeah, you could have all these stores and all this stuff, but who's your supplier? If you have a T-shirt and you make a T-shirt, you just slap your name on it. Yeah, but who's a T-shirt manufacturer, right?
You just got a screen. You got a screen printer. That's all you did.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So you're only getting a fraction of the cost. So Pan-African comes in as well as other black businesses. What I'm saying in America, you need a supply chain. I work in supply chain. It's always good to have more than one supplier, right? And make sure all those suppliers are black, and you'll be good either within the United States or outside of the United States that want to do business with us. And I'll land my plane right there.
Gotcha. Trey, G, either one of y'all want to go first?
G, you go first. You can go first, G. That's something I want to think about.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have much to say, honestly, because like I think the integration thing is.
But favorite black movement? No, most destructive black movement.
Favorite he gave favorite.
Yeah, my favorite hip hop. Like I agree with Unc and Johnny, man. Yeah, with what TBI said. Like when I'm trying to think of like most destructive, like self. Like, like movements that came from within the community, because part of me was thinking like, could it be like drug movement? But I was like, that wasn't really our movement. That was put on us. So that's not like the movement we created per se. So I'm like, okay, no, that wouldn't be the one. But I'm thinking either the integration or. And see, I don't think it's ours too, but like the movement of welfare in the community, like I don't know if that's like what, but like we embraced as a community welfare as a means to survive in ways that we didn't do it before it was invented. And I think just like if that's something else to point to potentially, I would say like that embracing of like living off the government. Like that became a movement in our community for some reason.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So we can get
go ahead.
Yeah. When we keep pushing back on integration or what you guys saying is the consensus is that Jim Crow laws should still be enforced and where in business where it says no blacks allowed should still stay in place. Is that what you guys are saying?
No.
Not at all.
No, we wanted our communities as an alternative, the ones that they bombed us. Because like you keep saying, Kofi, that we want to be with the white folks, and we want to identify with the white, all that stuff.
You're going on topic. That's not what I just said.
Kofi, you gonna let me finish my sentence?
But you're misrepresenting what I'm saying. I'm just asking.
You said in the chat that Black Americans or something about
that has nothing to do with what I'm asking right now. What I'm asking right now to understand where everyone's coming from when they say integration, do they want they do still want Jim Crow laws in place, or do they still want places where businesses could discriminate against you from being patronized? Because if that's the case, no. then yes, that forces us to just pretty much buy within ourselves, but it also makes our wealth smaller. So if I can't go over there and sell my goods to, let's say, an Irishman or a Chinese that's willing to buy it, that makes you less, that makes you less lucrative.
Yeah, I guess like inside the simplest form, if you're saying that you're against like immigration, not integration, but integration was most destructive, does that mean that we should have kept integration? Like, because that would kind of be the flip side of it. That would come with the Jim Crow laws XYZ. If we're saying that we was better off, separated.
Nobody's saying that segregation was best for us.
What we're saying is we wanted to be able to have access to whatever we wanted to have access, but we still wanted to maintain our communities that they bombed and destroyed, so we had nowhere else to go.
So not the integration policy. So not the integration policies, just how far we went into actually adhering to integration.
We wanted our own, but we wanted to also be able to access everything our tax dollars was funding, because that's
okay. That's what I was saying. I agree with that.
That's what I just said. But then come back and spend the money in the hood.
Yeah, so not the policy of like ending segregation or integrating, as much as just literally not going full stop into integration at our own deficit.
So I just wanted to make the point here earlier, because we're constantly getting accused of like wanting to be by white folks and everything like that. But every FBA on this panel has made clear that integration was something that we thought was destructive. So that whole narrative that we won't delineate from white people, like FBAs, we really want to do our own thing. They copy us. White people come into our community. So it's not like we like everything about.
What are you saying it's in response to? You're talking about in response to integration?
Because Kofi has in the past talked about how like Black Americans want to be around white folks and all the other stuff. So I was just pointing out
that's in response. That's in response to you saying, right, that people from Africa and the Caribbean want to impress white people. So don't.
Whatever. Regardless of whether it was in response to, I'm just pointing out that every FBA on this panel has made it clear that integration, we see that as a bad thing. So that means that saying that we want to be around white folks is a lie. Like, we just proved that nobody wants that. Kofi, I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you an example of recognizing that we in
this case, in this collectively case.
Okay, in this example, okay, cool. But to answer the question, the most destructive, in my opinion, was Black feminism, which covers, like Mr. Parallel was saying, like a welfare and dependency on the system, because all that came out of the feminism movement, which bastardized the civil rights movement, which made it more intersectionality, which is another thing that I think is very destructive, because Black people, instead of focusing on our shared issue, we all look at ourselves as, no, I'm a Black woman. Somebody might say they're a Black gay person. They're like, so they fight for their own individual thing. When in reality, we're all Black people on the system, of white supremacy. Another thing is a vote blue no matter who. That really pushed us set us back a long time from the progress we had. And the worst of all, the common denominator between all of that, I would say, is Pan-Africanism. And also, I would say,
all right. So Trey, you running down like you just doing your hit list right now, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he's like, wait. Then he just put it on the another one. So if you're not in with Pan-Africanism, so you're down with Pan-Europeanism, right?
That's not how it works.
I think he's not a
Pan-African. That's not how it works.
So I'm asking you a question.
That's like
you're not a Pan-African. What are you?
You doing that thing that y'all do. Like when I say I don't like Kamala, oh, you MAGA. No, bro.
I'm asking the question. I'm not making an accusation.
So do you think I'm Pan-Europeanism? Like all the stuff I talk about delineating. Hold on. This is a bad faith question.
Pan-Africanism is based about doing business with people in Africa across the diaspora. That's what it is. So if you're not down with that, you're a pan what? where's your economics is going to be based in?
I am
who you trying to make rich?
That's in bad faith, Kofi.
I am paying
no, it's not. No, it's not. Wait. How is it bad faith? We just had a conversation
go from
about black people.
African means you have to be.
We just had a conversation about black people buying from black people. About
I think the chat is saying pan Black American.
I like if you're East Coast, if you West Coast, if you from the South, we pan Black American as long as your lineage goes back to the killing fields of the South, or the indigenous tribes, or anything that before the nation was established. If we share that and we built this country and our lineage, all the invention, everything like that, I'm paying that. And if you're a rider who's from the diaspora, if you're a rider who's a European, we'll take applications from allies, but you have to prove yourself. Like no freebies at all.
Well, let me ask you this really quickly, and then I think so who approves these applications? Is there like a structure, organization?
Your actions prove it. You gotta put some skin in the game, like John Brown. Like nobody
where's like the collective meeting for this?
There's no meeting, bro. Do we all agree that John Brown was a writer? He didn't have to apply nowhere.
Who's John Brown? Let me look at
John Brown is a former abolitionist.
Oh, okay. You talking about? Okay. I thought I was missing like a new
the greatest white man of all time.
Okay.
They got some FBAs that push back on that too. That don't like to give John Brown his props. I was in a conversation with.
I haven't heard of that.
I found that crazy. I was fighting him with that, saying that it was an idiotic conversation.
All right, fellas. I think that we've kind of got a little past our curfew, but nonetheless, this has been a great conversation. Again, movements. What makes a real movement? We've gotten into the weeds of it. We have G of the G-ish podcast. Y'all see the Cash App up there. Make sure y'all show all these brothers some love. FBA Trey, David Walker, aka Cassius Trey, holding down for the lineage. J Rock, Johnny P, Benny the Butcher made a song named after him. Kofi, find him Kofi the Black Critic. Unc, calling in on that lunch break. Talk to us, Unc. Let's go. I think he made some FBA allies today.
And he turned the camera on.
Yeah, and he turned the camera on. He got FBA love today. We like it. Nonetheless, with that said, this has been Unpacked, presented to you by the To Be Fair Show and the G-ish podcast. This has been a great conversation. Make sure y'all show love to the panel. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, super chat on both channels, whichever way that you're watching it. It's been a great conversation. With that, we're out. Peace.